Welcome to Clash Royale League West 2020 Match Week 3. At this stage in our opening set, some teams today have a chance to secure their way into the playoffs, and for some teams, this might be a last gasp, a last chance, the last game where they can make their way through the group stage and into the playoffs. Hello and welcome, I'm Rich Slayton. Joining me, as always, is Andrew Guy. In this shortened group stage, the stakes are so very high, and so much weighs in the balance already here on this beautiful Saturday.
It's crazy to think we're already halfway through our season, Rich, and there's teams that still have yet to pick up a victory. And as you said it, I really truly believe today is somewhat of an elimination day. I know it seems crazy. I know it feels like the season just started, but that is where we're at. Have you been watching along on YouTube? I sure hope so. That's where we are right now. We're also on Twitch, but YouTube, subscribe. Make sure to turn on those notifications. We go live every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. on the West Coast, 1 p.m. on the East, and turning on those notifications is the best way to know exactly when we go live. Another great way is to follow us on Twitter. Rich does polls on his. I just put up a post on mine. Also, at Esports Royale EN has everything you need to know about all the competitive Clash Royale news. That's the best place to go. Go follow them right now. Lastly, have you been keeping up with fantasy? I dropped 2 players this morning. I added a couple more. Rich helped me out with that. I know we have very different lineups, but I'm feeling really strong about mine, especially because the pressure is on for a couple of the players that I just added in. Win those thousands gems. Trade your players from Tuesday till Saturday morning. Get them set before we go live.
I won't be taking my advice on fantasy, Andrew, because my team is getting shellacked. And as you talk about pressure, Andrew, this first match of the day that we're going to get into when we look at our actual overall schedule might have the most pressure of any of them. Chivas Esports at 0-2 needs a win desperately against Dignitas, currently at 1-0. And then the second game of Saturday, the Brazilian squad, Pain Gaming, made their debut last weekend, fell just short, up against Spacestation with a chance to go 3-0 and take a strong commanding lead and a good shot at that first round bye in our playoffs.
Yeah, 100%. Spacestation Gaming looking great right now. Tomorrow we'll be back at the same time, same place with Team Liquid kicking off against Tribe Gaming. Tribe Gaming now making their second appearance. And of course, SK Gaming and Team Queso facing off as our second match of the day. Believe it or not, both of those squads have yet to pick up a victory. So we will finally see one of those should have been dominant forces in Group B pick up a W tomorrow.
Well, that's the sort of this quick, almost World Cup style, the 2 group stages, just not a lot of room for error in this special spring edition of Clash Royale League. Usually these teams have a lot of time to recover in a big, long regular season, but this format here with this quick group stage kind of separating the wheat from the chaff and getting you right into the playoffs, it doesn't just mean that you have no time to recover. It means the pressure is on every single game. There is no relaxed moment throughout this season.
Yeah, and you know, speaking of relaxed, I imagine that's the exact opposite that a certain player on Chivas Esports feels right now if he's going to continue to play 1v1, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. Dignitas going up against Chivas Esports. Dig 1-0. Chivas 0-2. Let's meet our blue roster for the day from Dignitas.
Taking a look at Dig, and definitely turned some heads last week. Some excellent 2v2 out of their primary duo in Flash and Cody Go. Bale coming in from Orange Crown League and looking to maybe get some more wins in 1v1 today. And then the hero from last week, Lindsay, who did it a lot in the spring season last year, already started it off well this season, picking up 2 wins in King of the Hill in the most important moment and securing the first victory for Dignitas in this spring season.
Yeah, Dignitas looking like really strong on all the bases. We'll see how that moves moving farther along in the season. On the red side of it, their opponents for the day, Chivas Esports, Adrian Piedra, Anaban, Pompeo 4, and Richard. We have yet to see Richard play, but what I want to talk about a little bit here is Anaban. Anaban has had a lot of difficulty in that 1v1 set, and you know that's starting to wear on his confidence. He hasn't won a head-to-head game yet. He got 2-0'd by Jupiter, 2-0'd by Igor, then Igor beat him again in King of the Hill in their last match. Do you think Anaban is going to come out in that 1v1, Rich, and do you think he's got it in him for CRL?
I don't think there's any reason why you can truly bench Anaban in the 1v1 set at this stage. It's a short season. It's only been 2 matches. He's had some stumbles, but what he did in No Tilt League against generally the same competition, it's not time to put him on the bench yet. But what we're seeing right now, Andrew, in the 2v2 is also no changes on either side, so maybe a clue as to what Chivas is thinking in the 1v1.
Yeah, Flash and Código coming out for Dignitas with a ban on Prince, which I love. I think that's a big time ban. We'll see if Giant Skeleton works his way back into the 2v2 meta. For Chivas Esports banning Tornado, we have Adrian Piedra and Pompeo 4, who have had a little bit of success in that 2v2 set, but just not being able to pull things together. Our Chivas Esports, let's hop into our very first game of the day, 2v2, Dig and Chivas Esports.
So here we go, Chivas top of your screen, Dignitas at the bottom. Flash and Código ran that Golem double Prince with Heal Spirit and Rage last time for both games, getting a clean, easy win. Of course, with the Prince ban on their side, not running that again today. And Andrew, I really like this. Dignitas in the past has been known to run the same thing in 2v2 over and over and over again. Yeah. Clearly a different look today from Dig.
Yeah, and I love that. I think it's a very important thing to do. It's something that you and I have talked about season after season after season, and now seeing today that they're switching things up just a little bit with that ban. It's really nice. Again, it makes their opponents have to guess what they're going to run. Lumberjack right on through, gets a swing in.
And so far, quick and baity from Flash and Código. We'll see if they can get that rhythm down. We've talked about it a lot, Andrew, the difficulty of really timing that rhythm correctly, not giving up too much log value while spreading the responses thin. Question is, can Flash and Código, are they playing at that level in their 2v2 right now?
Yeah, and you saw there, they're still going to the safe spot with that Goblin Barrel, knowing that their opponents probably are holding Snowball, and there is a way to activate King with the Goblin Barrel and Snowball, so that's why they're still going to the safe spot if you guys are wondering why with Tornado banned.
So far, pretty slow and steady from Chivas. Earthquake, you don't see it as much in head-to-head play right now with the recent nerf to Earthquake, but still has some value overall in 2v2. The slow getting more from all the different troops, and a decent defense here on the left-hand side out of Chivas.
Yeah, a lot dropped there on the left-hand side, though, giving a ton of value here to Dignitas, maybe making an easy defense. And there it is, Mega Knight at the river. On the other side of it, it looks like we're going to see maybe that combination of either a Hog or Ram Rider with this Giant Skeleton, Magic Archer, and Lumberjack combination that we saw a lot last season.
Yeah, we have not seen any true offensive output yet from Chivas Esports, so we'll see when they start to turn up the heat. But so far, it's been all defense, and it's been pressure from Dig, and this is the game they want to play. We'll see if they go Inferno Tower here. There you go in response, and it is the Hog Rider.
Yeah, and I'm really happy that you brought that up, because tempo is a big part of this game, and they literally have had zero offensive tempo or rhythm up until right now. They put together one of their very first pushes, or really their true first offensive push, but substantial, literally in spell cycle range at this point because they have so much time left and so little damage on their towers.
We do see the poison come down at this stage, getting some damage on tower. Ooh. A skeleton escapes, 395, Musketeer off, and a high giant skeleton opposite lane. Dig should have enough elixir-wise to deal with this, and they bring out the Mega Knight.
Yep, Mega Knight comes down late. The Princess come down instead of the high Inferno Tower to catch those bats. So actually a really nice heads-up play there from Dignitas, and just like that, it's going to be a very easy game one to Dig.
GG, well played. Dignitas now 3-0 in 2v2 games for this duo. And, we've talked about it in the past, how important 2v2 is, and especially taking the pressure off their young 1v1 star, Bale, who's a rookie. He's played at high level, but of course things are different here at CRL.
Yeah, and if you talk about the other side of that, conversely, the pressure must be getting exponentially larger for Anaban if he's going to come out in that 1v1 set. But let's take a look at what we have here really quickly. The spells from Adrian and Pompeo just not really doing what they need. The freeze, the poison, and the earthquake are all a little negligible. Yes, you can get those poisons down to take princesses off the board, but if you're talking about cleaning up Skelly barrels and Goblin barrels, you're really in a lot of trouble, and that's exactly what Código and Flash recognized early on. They kept up the pressure so that Pompeo and Adrian could not even get down a single Hog Rider until they were in double elixir.
Well, Andrew, you've seen this a few times in 2v2, specifically against this quadruple bait deck with the 2 skeleton barrels and 2 goblin barrels, where you make some spell choices, in particular the freeze, that are pretty much purely offensive choices, right? So you see 2 spell choices here, the Earthquake and the Freeze, that have no defensive utility, leaving them with really just the Snowball and the Log to deal with all those baity cards. That's a tall order. That's a big ask. And this is now the second or third time we've seen Freeze fall short against this quadruple bait deck.
Yeah, you wonder if in decks like this now we need to see something instead of Earthquake. Yes, it's cheap, and yes, it does great against buildings, but since it has been nerfed, you saw there, as you said, the Earthquake provided very little utility anywhere else, and it was really easy for Dignitas just to go, okay, we know they have Earthquake and Cycle, let's slow play our Inferno Tower. Let's get as many things down before the Inferno so that they have to spend their elixir on their offensive push, then put the Inferno down so that the Earthquake comes in late and is not as effective. So yeah, that quadruple bait deck has had a lot of success here, and I'm wondering if the idea is just, do you put more magic archers in, do you put more E-Wizzes in, or do you just put in more small spells?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because you still want to have those pieces offensively. If you're running Graveyard, 1 freeze can be the difference. Obviously, running Hog or Balloon, 1 freeze can be the difference.
Yeah.
But we've now seen, again, we've seen it work wonderfully. We saw it last weekend in one game where the freeze did come in, I think, clutch for Space Station. But we've seen it fall short against Beta a few times with how popular this deck is. I wonder if we'll still see it in the 2v2 meta. Andrew, let's jump into game number 2, where Dig currently has the advantage.
And here we go. Looks like Pompey and Adrian go, all right, you want to play bait? We can do that as well.
And fast pressure from Chivas again. Bats do catch the Dart Goblin high. But we'll see if Flash and Cody go. Interesting, we are seeing the Heal Spirit again. This has been coming up a little bit in 2v2.
Yeah, minor Heal Spirit, bad. I mean, this has a lot of workings, but it still could be a missed fireball on that right-hand side because the Princess stops and turns around and shoots at the miner. So you wonder how much this missed spell is going to make them hurt early on, with the cycle being slower, elixir being slower, and of course going up against bait.
And the P.E.K.K.A. in front, too.
Yeah.
So protecting that Princess forces out the Log early. Ooh. Goblin Barrel comes down. This is a beautiful sequence right now from Chivas.
Yeah, and it all came with 1 missed spell, and that's why bait is so fun to play, period, but also so effective here in 2v2. You miss that 1 spell, and you get punished for it.
You take a look at this, Andrew, and you go, but hey, look at that. Dig defended very well, but look at the elixir difference right now.
Yeah.
More on the board and more in the elixir collectors for Chivas at the moment as we are getting closer and closer to halfway through regulation.
And Chivas needs to keep up the pressure in that moment. So right now we'll see if they end up maybe taking too much off the gas here to play some strong defense. I like the defense they played, but there goes their elixir lead.
So here we go. Skeleton Barrel right at the bridge, Goblin Cage to block, and this is one thing that we didn't see Chivas also doing last time in the last game against Bait when Dig ran it, was they didn't have a building to deal with the Skeleton Barrels, which can be such a big difference.
That's a very, very good point you make. You have that building to deal with the Skeleton Barrel, and at this point also create a counter push that is exponentially better than where they were last game, where it was just like, we don't have enough spells, we're going to lose this.
So Chivas slightly ahead on Elixir as we reach double. Here they go, setting up Bats in the back behind Skelly Barrel and a full-on bait push left-hand side.
Yeah, big-time bait push here. We'll see a great log. If you talk about timing there, excellent timing from Flash and Codigo, but also you need to vary up your timing if you're Pompeo and Adrian. There's a way to make those hit so that you can't take them both off with 1 log. Oh, that's a big snowball.
And the freeze comes in. Here we go, seeing the freeze get it done.
On the tower.
Tower down, right-hand side. Talk about where freeze can be effective against this deck, and you just saw it. But Andrew, the big difference here is the defensive capabilities that they've shown in this deck. You have Snowball, you have Log, but the Goblin Cage and the Musketeer working together to deal with those Skeleton Barrels.
And just like that, I mean, Dignitas, a team that a lot of people were sleeping on, they were the very first team picked, is now 2 sets up in this 2v2 set, putting work on their opponents, and now going in to 1v1.
Beautiful, beautiful play from Flash and Codigo, undefeated in 2v2 so far in their CRL campaign. And Andrew, it's so interesting, we were just talking about freeze not being effective against this deck, but here's the difference, and we'll see the stats in just a moment. It's that they had that extra piece of the Goblin Cage to pick up the Skeleton Barrels, and that sequence you were mentioning on the left-hand side, I don't know if we can get that in a replay or not, that sequence on the left-hand side where they got all that value from the log, they got the Musketeer on the Skeleton Barrel, made it pop early, and that made the timing work.
Yeah, and timing. Timing is the key word of this matchup specifically. We saw it in both games. It was all timing, and you saw Flash and Código's was just a little bit better than Adrian and Pompeo's, and that's why their Goblin Barrels and Skeleton Barrels were so much more effective in the first game. You see here, Adrian and Pompeo, they played really well, and they took advantage of misplays by Flash and Código, but we're just not able to close things out. And the last thing is I loved how much damage Flash and Código took at the end to make sure that they were going to clean everything off the board and not actually lose the tower. They took about an additional 500 to 600 damage just to ensure that they'd win.
It was beautiful play, and Flash and Código definitely been putting some work in on the offseason. That's 2 big-time 2v2 wins to start, and of course, this gives them such a nice cushion. The young man, Bale, will probably be up in 1v1 next, and definitely a talented player. I think 5-time MVP of the week over in Orange Crown League. Had a rough outing last time, but we saw what they can do in King of the Hill. But really, right now, Dignitas needs to really be looking at Flash and Código and giving them some big thanks because they are carrying the load well for their squad.
Yeah, and we've talked about this every single season. Winning that 2v2 set just does so much for the confidence of your team and just to be able to sit back, kick back in the 1v1. Obviously, you want to close things out in 2 sets, but the pressure right now for the 1v1 player for Chivas Esports at 0-2 with a set in their opponent's hand, it's through the roof. This is an elimination game. If Chivas loses this match, there is almost no way they make playoffs.
Yeah, it would be some crazy mathematics to get them into that number 3 spot at this stage. And now it turns to most likely Anaban, who's 0-5 coming into today. He had a great run in No Tilt League Special Edition, one of the top 2 or 3 players during that other event, but so far here has not found that win. And you and I were talking before the broadcast today, Andrew. I wonder if that first game where he ran Pekka Freeze, where he ran his deck, if that game goes differently, if we're living in a different world here and Anaban has picked up 3 or 4 wins rather than 0.
I think so. You and I talked a little bit about Lapa being a momentum player in our last broadcast, and I don't know as much about Anaban, but it feels like he's the same way because when I did see him in No Tilt and I saw him winning, he was unstoppable. Whereas right now, he has not got that first notch on his belt at CRL. He has not got that very first W. He hasn't even gotten a game. Give the man a game win, and then let's see what happens. So we are going to get it. We are going to get the rookies going up against each other with Bale and Anaban squaring off in the 1v1 set. But Anaban needs to get that first game win if Chivas Esports wants to stay alive.
Very curious, and it's a lot of that's going to be on Chivas' analysis as well. That's what got them so far in No Tilt League.
Yeah.
Their coach, Josevi, was talking a lot about how they probably had good matchups about 60% of the time because of their analysts. Can they come through here in 1v1 for Anaban? Let's go ahead and jump in to the first game.
Yep, Anaban at the top of your screen, Bale at the bottom, and it is so funny because you go back and you see how hard Anaban got countered in that very first game running Pekka Freeze, but we were talking to Koji as well, and he's like, imagine if he wins that game. Everyone thinks he's a genius, because Igor, alternatively, on the other side of it, ran Mortar back-to-back, and he dominated with it. So it's really just about getting your matchups and also kind of calling your opponent's bluff.
Looking like it might be RG cycle for Anaban this time around. We'll see if that's the direction he's going. Andrew, you're making the point about that, though, the difference that Anaban's Pekka Freeze is really one deck, whereas Mortar Bait, there's such a wide variety of variations now. So it's a little bit harder to counter Igor in that situation than it is to counter Anaban when he goes comfort.
Yeah, you see the straight-up Mortar Bait, you see the version with Prince, you see the one with Rascals and Dark Goblin, you see the Valkyrie Musketeer version. There's just a limitless possibility now of Mortar in the meta, which does make me very happy. Bale drops the Sparky here. A lot of damage. Rich, I had a really cool thing happen. Someone reached out to me on Twitter last week about some of the terminology we were using. RNG, random number generator, but the other one that you and I have been using more this season is min-maxing. Do you want to give like a really, really quick explanation of what min-maxing is for the people at home in case they don't know?
It's making decisions of how can I take the minimum amount of damage for the maximum amount of value, right? So going, hey, I'm going to allow this troop to get a couple of shots in order to bank some elixir that I can use in some other situation. So this is the exact opposite of that situation here, seeing Bale take both tower losses. Anaban just putting the hurt on him in the opposite direction, and Bale knows this was a brutal, brutal game that he probably cannot come back from at this stage.
And I'm really glad that we were talking about min-maxing at that moment because that was the exact example of not what you want to do when you min-max. You get the Sparky down, you try to take all the Royal Hogs out. Your opponent has great counters for your Goblin Giant as you cross the river. And right now, Chivas Esports needs a 3-crown win, and Anaban is definitely going for it.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. Andrew needs a 3-crown win because the crowns will be one of the tiebreakers. If they can get themselves back to 2v2, you know, it's first head-to-head matchup, then it's set differential, then it's game differential. But with this short group stage, it feels like crowns might come into play. So a 3-crown win certainly can be a big help here if can pull it off.
Yeah, and if I'm Anaban, I sack the tower. I get that 3-crown win.
The 3-crown does come in for Anaban. A big-time win over the rookie Bale, and Anaban finally gets on the board in match week 3.
And this is huge. This is exactly what we're talking about. Anaban finally gets the win. Now is it all a snowball rolling downhill from here? Does he just get better? Does he play smarter? Is he more confident? I really hope so if you're Chivas Esports. And Bale, I think he committed too much on that right-hand side early on.
Yeah, maybe we'll go back and take a look at the moment that really changed everything. And we did run a little bit of a Twitter poll before the match, and 51.7% of you said that Chivas would win today over Dignitas, a razor-thin margin. And that's how it's looking right now. So far, razor-thin, although that one was not close at all. Specifically, Anaban, 3-crown down, gets in his first win here in CRL.
Yeah, that's a big one, man. It feels real good to get the first W, but also to do it emphatically like that with the big 3-crown take. And again, it's a long uphill battle for Chivas Esports to actually make it to playoffs, but 3 crowns here is a great way to start. So let's take a look here at the replay. I think we're going to take a look at the first tower take because you and I were speaking so much about min-maxing here. This is the Sparky that got down. But as he drops this Goblin Giant, things start to go very, very south very quickly.
Well, it's interesting because when you see that the delivery comes out early, you see the E-Wiz behind, and then the way he splits the barbs up high, it seems like Bale just got frozen a bit, didn't have Elixir to deal with the barbs, and again, it's just the Firecracker able to take care of business defensively, and now so much goes the opposite direction, and Bale doesn't have a good target. He wants to try to stop both sides, can't stop both sides. It's the same target, Fireball for the pigs, Fireball for the barbs, and that's just an absolute shellacking there that took place over a few seconds.
And honestly, that was, we were describing min-maxing. Anaban did a great example of that because what happened there was playing the barbs up high. What he did was he took away all the support units for the Goblin Giant on the right-hand side. He ends up taking a decent amount of damage from that Goblin Giant because it's only a Firecracker on top of it. But then, in turn, he goes Royal Hogs left plus, and then on the right-hand side, he's got the barbs crossing with a Heal Spirit. Game over. Easy, easy claps here for Anaban in game number 1 of head-to-head.
And it's been a rough go so far for Bale, currently at 1-3 in 1v1 games on the season.
Yeah.
Really would like to get himself all even, have to get 2 in a row today to secure the victory for Dig and also put himself back at 50-50. But it's going to be tough to get 2 in a row against Anaban if he's feeling loose and if he's getting the right analysis here. So we'll see if Bale can get that one back. But it just seemed, again, like you said, Andrew, a little overextended. There are times a Sparky in single Elixir, throwing the Goblin Giant there with it as well. You've got so much Elixir on the board, and it's not coming through fast enough to get back on defense. That's what we saw.
And he also doubled down with the E-Wiz, right? Maybe if he doesn't play the E-Wiz there, yes, the push dies on the Vine, but he has that 4 Elixir to play a little bit better defense. I don't know if that actually helps because he gets such a big push on both sides of the board, but that's just one of the things that I think Bale kind of, he already made a little bit of an overcommitment. That felt like the big misstep, the nail in the coffin for him was that E-Wiz coming down. It was so easily countered. Now, if those barbs get cleaned up, if that Sparky shot goes off, we're speaking about something very, very different right now. We're probably talking about how Anaban has still not won a game, but that wasn't the case. So here we go. One of the rookies finally gets their first W here. Which one's going to take their first set?
This is an interesting one. You're talking about that high E-Wiz, that 4 Elixir. Because think about that. That 4 Elixir isn't just 4 Elixir. It's 4 Elixir that lets him more freely use the Fireball when those pigs come down the left-hand lane and then make a choice about how to pull those barbs on the right-hand side. So very, very good call there on the E-Wiz. Let's go ahead and jump into game number 2. And Bale opening with split pigs, picked up by the Tesla.
Ooh, Tesla plus Skelly's rich. Do you think we're going to see some Expo?
I mean, it feels like it. It certainly feels like it. There's not a lot else that's running Tesla Skeletons right now. Of course, we'll see if that's the direction Anaban's going. It certainly would be polarizing, and there are a few players as polarizing in the game as the man you see for Chivas right now.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot more Expo 2.9 and ISPO in general on ladder and on the GCs. Looks like we are going to be seeing some ISPO and a nice NATO there. How's he going to deal with this push on the left-hand side?
Well, has the log, has the rocket, so that's going to be those bad boys down. Going to take a little bit here from the Royal Ghost, maybe a couple of shots. But again, talking about min-maxing, spending 1 elixir to defend that, and now we'll have plenty to pick up those piggies.
Yeah, that was a picture-perfect surround there with the Skeletons to only take 2 shots from that Royal Ghost. I mean, you 1 tile off, and that Royal Ghost 1-shots all of them, and yet taking a lot more damage. So really, really nicely played there by Anaban. But one thing I do have to say, Bale in the damage lead and in a good spot elixir-wise.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting here because, you know, you can always NATO those 3 Musketeers together. Kind of makes them a bit of a moot point to a certain degree because you're not worried about activating King Tower as we saw in the opening play. It's going to be very curious. And here we go. Does he do it again? And yep, easy. He might even rocket them while they're on tower.
Yep, there it is. That should be a very easy rocket. Nice damage. Great cleanup. Awesome positive elixir trade.
Yeah, I mean, you're spending 9 to get the 9 Elixir Musketeers off the board, but then on top of that, the Ice Golem and the tower damage. So I think it's going to be very difficult for Bale to find a way through on this one.
Yeah, and again, another perfect skeleton surround there by Anaban. Now we're in double elixir time. When will we see the first Expo come down? Will we see a defensive Expo come down first because he's got such a great cycle here with the NATO plus rocket? And there it is.
And this is what Bale needs to do if he's going to have any hope here. It's make that go opposite directions every single time. Force Anaban do that to the side he doesn't want to go to. That really is the only thing he can do, but I don't know if it's going to be enough.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much defense on the board here. Those Royal Hogs end up going to the Expo, get 0 damage. Knight comes down. Great elixir spot for Anaban. Back around to Expo. It's just all trouble.
And the High Musketeers does change things. Yeah, I like that, Andrew.
I mean, you gotta try again, man. I mean, if it's not working, you gotta switch things up.
They're pretty easily taken care of with the defensive Expo, and now the lead continues to build for Anaban on defense. Sets up a Tesla in front of the Expo, and this is all bad right now for Bale and Dig.
Oh, it's so brutal when you just see the log down the middle to do a little bit of damage to an Expo because you have no other way of getting to it. Anaban in a great spot matchup-wise, and Bale just wants this to end.
Minute 45 left, and don't know if the end can come soon enough. We'll see. At what point does Anaban start throwing some extra rocket work there? Doesn't want to give a big opening for those Musketeers, but with these defensive Expos and logs, might not need to.
Log comes in, Expo down. Tesla high, there it is. And a Musketeer on the tower. Now, this is the one interesting thing, Rich, is if Anaban makes a few mistakes, this deck can turn around and punish you very brutally, very quickly.
Yeah, it's a question. The mistakes certainly are a question without any thought about that one, Andrew, but this is also one of those decks where you can recover from mistakes in 2 ways. One, you can get it cycled so fast, and then 2, just the rocket cycle and triple, which we're going to be seeing here in a moment. We'll see how much he puts on. As long, even if he is just a little bit ahead, he can just keep on chipping away with the logs on the right-hand side and then cycle rockets in the last 20 seconds. It doesn't need to right now. Just content to get the Musketeers off the board and throw some more logs in the right-hand lane.
Yep, defensive, over and over and over. Chip away with that log to make sure you don't go at a huge deficit. Close things out with the rocket, and that's exactly, I think, what we're going to see here over the next 35 seconds. Unless this is what Bale keeps doing, which that's an easy... Oh man, that is tough.
You and I are both looking at that one going, oh no.
Can we get a rip in the chat there for Bale? That was a massive trade for Anaban, and it's going to be a quick 2-game set here for Chivas.
Yeah, just playing some defense. Rocket cycle to the right-hand side. GG, well played. Brutal matchup for Bale.
Yeah.
Expo was in the doghouse for so long in CRL, and this might be the season where it finally takes some dominance and puts people on notice about Expo and competitive again.
I mean, that ISPO deck, when in the hands of a true pro is so frustrating. Like you said, during the match, it cycles so quickly. You have so many outs, right? You can defensive Expo, defensive Tesla, rocket cycle out, or you could just do the most frustrating thing in the world. And I know you've been there, man, is when you're playing against someone and you just see them drop like 30 logs on a tower and you can do nothing about it.
So easy 2-0 sweep for Anaban. Goes with a very safe choice in game number 2.
Yep.
And plays it smart. Pretty solid win. And now we're going to King of the Hill. So a sweep in 2v2 for Dig, a sweep in 2v2 for Chivas. And now we're going to the third and final set. Man, Andrew, there are times when you see Icebo. There's very few times anybody sees Icebo and goes, yes, I am super excited about playing against this right now.
Yeah, and Bale with just a log as his spell. Really, really rough. So let's take a look at the final moments here, even though I'm sure Bale does not want to relive them. The rocket comes down on the tower, damage is in. This was just before, this replay started just after, that 3 Musketeers plus Royal Hogs push on the left-hand side where that rocket came down and cleaned up all the elixir in the land. 14 elixir for 6 there. And Anaban now gets his first 2 wins, and I'm sure we'll see him again in King of the Hill.
Almost such a frustrating situation for Bale here because the 3 Musketeers are such a critical part of this deck. And in this particular matchup, it's not like he can switch and stop playing the 3 Musketeers and suddenly the Royal Hogs are able to break through. He can't outcycle this deck. Nothing else really to pick up to help him get past everything. He needed to have one or 2 big mistakes from Anaban and sneak by some 3M, but that means he's committing 9 elixir that's so easily dealt with every single time. So Anaban doesn't slip up enough, and Bale takes the L.
Yeah, and I gotta give credit to Bale, right? He didn't give up. He kept trying. If I'm in that matchup, I probably give up as soon as we hit double elixir time, as soon as we get that last minute, because there's just no way to break through. There was the moment you start seeing those logs come down the middle of the map, just to not even take an Expo or Tesla off the map, but just to do a little bit of damage, you're in a rough spot. And I love that he tried to play the 3 Musketeers high. He tried to get the Ice Golem in front, just tried to make it so Anaban would make mistakes. But he didn't, like you said, and there's no way to win that matchup if you don't.
Let's go ahead and take a look at our rosters for King of the Hill. Each team puts forward 3 players, each player. Single elimination. Take out the other 3 from the other team, and you are through with the dub. It's Flash, Lince, and Cody go for Dignitas. Richard leading things off for Chivas with Adrian and Anaban in the anchor spot.
Yeah, Richard making his CRL debut today, so excited to see him play. And, of course, you mentioned at the very top of the match, Lince had a excellent, dominant King of the Hill performance in their last match against, of course, Cream. So we will see how he fares today. But first, Flash, Richard, let's do this.
Let's jump into it. And yeah, Lince 2-0 last time out. Richard top of your screen, Flash at the bottom. Richard, of course, had some good performances in King of the Hill in No Tilt League Special Edition, 2 sweeps. And they came out on top against Dignitas, of course. Or Dignitas came out on top against Chivas during that league, but Chivas was playing that matchup without Anaban and without Pompeo, so a very different matchup here in CRL than it was in No Tilt.
Yeah, that's very true. I wonder if Richard is going to be running a Mortar Bait deck or if he's going to be running some sort of Minor Control. But usually with Minor Control... Oh, never mind. As I say, we don't usually see the log.
So Minor, Wall Breakers, Prince, and Spear Goblins. So we've seen Minor Prince Spear Goblins a lot, throwing Wall Breakers in. Not the worst idea, certainly gives it some more flexibility on the offensive side of the board. Yeah. It does give away a little bit of control, though, potentially.
I think Richard may be overcommitted just a hair there. He's going to have to deal with this push on the left-hand side, but definitely going hot and heavy is Richard here. Very aggressive early on, but I like it. I really do. He's got to do that with this type of deck. He needs to get that damage in, especially because Flash has so many great counters to his Prince.
And the Prince distracting the guards. High Goblin Cage to pick up the Wall Breakers, so that Brawler will pop and give a little value the opposite direction, but Richard should have plenty to deal with it.
So log comes down. He does take a couple hits. Oh, 1 hit there from the Brawler.
Minute and a half away. So far, Flash out to a pretty solid lead throughout his career in King of the Hill. Pretty even. I believe at 9-9 throughout his King of the Hill career.
Flash there throws down that barrel to try to mitigate 100% of the damage, but the Spear Goblin does get a shot in. Nice catch there with the bats. I'm wondering if he was expecting it. I imagine so.
Wall Breakers do not get through, and Here we go. Prince high on the E-Wiz. Final minute of regulation time in double. And this miner to go all the way to the back.
Yep. And, you know, Richard there changed up his offense, but Flash paid very, very patiently, waited for him to commit the way that he wanted to attack and defended perfectly.
Things going pretty well for Flash so far. Has been playing a 6-card game, just sitting back on defense and able to keep the lead.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point you make. Just going through that quick cycle of those 6 cards. And he has all the defense he needs with just those 6. So we'll end up seeing if he plays those last 2, but Richard in a lot of trouble right now. Wow.
Prince high, and look at that Heal Spirit keeping the E-Wiz on the board. RG comes down behind, the E-Wiz stunning on that Inferno Tower. This is going to be a beautiful outing from Flash. A GG, a well played. RG will finish things off, and Dig takes game number 1 at King of the Hill.
Yeah, that was just... I mean, that was perfect. Flash played that absolutely perfectly. Yes, he took damage here and there, but he was never lost any sort of control. And then you see his win condition come out at the very end of the match.
So we'll go ahead and take a look at the stats here in just a moment. And it's interesting to see Royal Giant back in a way that's effective, right? We talked a lot in last year, especially in the spring, about how RG had fallen. And this is similar to that RG Furnace deck in some ways, right? You have the Baby Dragon, have the E-Wiz, have the guards, but just some key changes here. The Brawler, the Goblin Cage giving a little bit more utility, and then the Heal Spirit helping with those bridge battles. Such a big part of this deck for Flash.
Yeah, that Heal Spirit, I believe it used to be an Ice Spirit or another one elixir card like Skeletons, but that Heal Spirit, when it lands, and you saw it land a few times, did so much for Flash, and it's all about timing. The other thing was that he did a great job in using that Heal Spirit to take bats off of the map. So Flash living inside of Richard's brain. Richard does make his debut, but not able to close things out. Let's take a look at the final moments here. That last blow from Richard and what turns into a W for Flash.
I mean, the guards just really take the Prince completely out of contention. Have so many ways to pick up the miners as well, the wall breakers. I mean, there's counter after counter after counter for Flash, but here you go. You think that Prince is going to take care of the E-Wiz? Nope, a Brawler and Heal Spirit together just mean that's it. GG, well played. And Flash gets a big King of the Hill win to lead things off for Dig.
Yeah, I mean, very, very well played by Flash. Dignitas up a game here. And again, I love the way that he played his defense. He was always incredibly patient, wasn't worried about getting his Royal Giant out there. He was finding himself getting enough damage on the tower without his win condition. But the other thing I love is his patience with the Heal Spirit. He waited every single time until that log came down to either slow, it was usually to clean up the Brawler coming across at full speed or to clean up the shields off of the guards. Every time either of those things happened, a log came down, then the Heal Spirit came directly after.
Yeah, exceptionally well played. And again, interesting seeing so many variations of Royal Giant that appear to be viable at the moment. You know, when Furnace got nerfed, and it's a pretty big one. Furnace is in a rough spot at the moment, it seems. You know, that was such a big part of Royal Giant for such a long time. But now we have the cage delivery version. We have this version as well. It seems like it's overall in a relatively healthy place at the moment. So here we go. Let's jump into game number 2 of King of the Hill. Adrian Piedra up next for Chivas Esports. And we're jumping into game. We're going to see if we still have audio here for the moment. We are here, and we are back, and it's Prince again coming out for Chivas Esports, this time in the hands of Adrian Piedra. And it does connect. That 1 HP Bandit getting on tower. 22-14 left-hand side. Slight lead right now for Flash. So this looks like it's going to be Giant. We'll see if it's going to be the Giant, the Mega Knight, or the Goblin Giant out of Adrian. Typically this is run with Giant, but we've seen other variations as of late. So an interesting variation on Hog Rider from Flash. A little heavier you typically see for a Hog Rider deck, not quite as cycly as you might be used to. A lot of 3 and 4 Elixir cards, but one big note, you'll see the Goblin Gang and the Dark Prince both in there, and you have to feel like part of that might be because Prince is so popular right now. Bandit, Firecracker connection, Hog Rider into the right-hand side. Ewiz and Dark Prince trying to play some defense, and that's a ton of damage on the right-hand side. Dark Prince, Ewiz behind. Caught at the bridge. First 2 minutes down. We're heading into double Elixir time. 10:41 right-hand side for Adrian Piedra. 19:17 left-hand side for Flash, and now the Giant comes out for Adrian. Prince behind the Giant, and Ewiz set up as well. 40 seconds left in regulation. And that fireball gets a ton of value. Dark Prince behind. But there's so much on the board for Adrian Piedra. Mega Knight comes out high and completely saves the day. And now it's Flash's turn for a counter push. Dark Prince on the right-hand side. And a lot coming in on the right-hand side now. Ewiz high. Here we go. Sudden death overtime. And Adrian again sets up Giant on the right-hand side. Not much in the way of direct damage available for Flash, so has to find a way to break through. Maybe he'll switch lanes here at some point. And here we go, Dark Prince left-hand side, and Andrew, Miner right to the Firecracker. She does a bit of a juke work, but the Miner does get on tower.
Yeah, Miner on the tower. Still not a ton of damage here on the bottom side of your screen, and doing a really great job at dealing with these these double Prince pushes. We all know how overwhelming they can be, but it's really about dealing with the charges and getting on top of that Miner.
Prince on the right-hand side, 8:26. Again, Flash does have the lead. We'll see if Adrian can get one big push, it's going to be hard for Flash to come back. And as we get further and further into this deep part, we'll see if Adrian can actually get control. But right now, Flash looking good for a potential 2-0. Hog Rider comes through, fireball high. Mega Knight gets a leap on tower. That's going to be it. Tower down right-hand side. And that's going to be it. Flash, 2 up, 2 down. 1 game away from a King of the Hill sweep.
Wow, it's been sweep after sweep after sweep here in these sets. Obviously, starts off with Dig, bounces back to Chivas, and now Flash putting work in this King of the Hill set. Just great management. The thing is he's never gotten overzealous with his offense. He's always made sure he has enough in the tank and he's on top of his cycle to defend.
Flash has been a 2v2 focusing player for a while. Hasn't done a ton of head-to-head over the last couple of seasons, but here in this big moment, 2-0 in King of the Hill, 1 away from a sweep. And Andrew, right now, there's only one thing to say. Dig win. That's the possibility here.
Yeah, man. It's not something you and I have got to say a whole lot over the last couple seasons, but it is always fun. And look at them right now putting together a great match here, their second match of the season, and this replay is just basically kind of the story that we saw the entire 5 minutes. Was just great defense by Flash, making sure he used his Ewiz and his Bandit whenever he needed, and of course saving that tanky Mega Knight to deal with those massive pushes behind the Giant.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the different pieces here, the Mega Knight, the Dark Prince, the Goblin Gang, all of this really feels like it was made specifically to deal with what he ended up facing. So maybe this was some good analysis on the part of Dignitas that came out in their favor, but counters for the Prince, counters for the Dark Prince, counters upon counters upon counters upon counters. And Flash now 1 win away from a huge King of the Hill sweep that would put his team up 2-0 in the season. But don't forget who's against him, a guy who did sweep after sweep after sweep in no tilt, and that's Anaban.
Yeah, you know, and the one thing that I really want people to notice about Flash's play is that he has been so patient with his win conditions. You don't need the Hogs and you don't need the Royal Giant to take those towers if you're playing the way that he is. Now, Anaban, I believe, is the strongest head-to-head player on Chivas, so we'll see if Flash can continue to do this. But honestly, the way he's been playing right now, I'd put him up against anyone in the league.
Yeah, this looked good, so let's go ahead and jump into game number 3. Flash, the chance to close things for Dig, put them at 2-0 in the season, and pretty much end Chivas' run in CRL for the spring.
Yeah.
Anaban needs to win 3 in a row, but there is no one that Chivas would rather have on board right now than the man playing on the top of your screen. So just some small cycle on both sides so far.
Royal Ghost coming out. It's been cool to see more Royal Ghosts coming into play.
Prince to pick up the Royal Ghost, first 30 seconds away. It's going to be Ram Rider for Anaban.
And Log comes in.
Solid protection, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's about as good as it could have went for Flash. And now that he knows what his opponent's win condition is, he knows what his biggest threat is on the ground, which is probably the Prince. We'll see if Flash does what he did in those last 2 games, which is just play patient and get the dub.
A nice 3-1 split for Flash. Does get some damage done. Of course, now has a healthy Mega Knight going the opposite direction. Goes for a Skelly's Surround and the Hunter to take the Mega Knight off the board.
Very, very nicely played. Making those small interactions. Those Skelly Surrounds are so much more difficult than these guys are making them look.
First minute and a half away. Flash slightly in the lead. Anaban sets up Prince on the right-hand side. And it's 3 Musketeers with the Royal Hogs for Flash.
And a much better matchup here for Flash than we saw the Muskies and the Royal Hogs earlier, where no spell, no problem this time around.
It's going to be curious how he deals with the Poison and the Mega Knight. Poison pretty much going to be safe for those 3 Musketeers as often as possible. Mega Knight for those Piggies. Question is really going to be about dual lane pressure here for Flash.
Yeah, he really needs to make sure he's... I mean, obviously, the best thing is split those Musketeers, split the Royal Hogs, and make sure that your opponent can't drop that Mega Knight for a ton of value, but it's a lot easier said than done.
Mega Knight in front of the Ram Rider right-hand side, so Flash loads up left-hand side with Piggies and the Royal Ghost. Kiting the Mega Knight away, so not too much damage on the right-hand side, and doing a good job controlling the big brawler here is Flash. Anaban has not yet found a way through.
Yeah, and that was a perfect defense there from Flash. The late log to keep the Hogs off the tower, the high hunter to help assist, the kite with the ice golem, and Flash doing what we've seen from him all day today, which is picture-perfect Clash Royale. Maybe some skeletons high.
There you go. Great call there, Andrew. Got right ahead of it. Skeletons did get the nice distract. But can he hold on here? Very low on Elixir.
I love that kite on the Prince. You know the log's going to come down. No Elixir in time, but not really a huge issue. Flash does make a couple mistakes. Anaban getting closer, but that was very well managed by Flash.
Split Pigs 2 and 2. This time Heal Spirit does help with the Pigs on the left-hand side and a lot of damage in both lanes. This is the big question is, can Anaban decide which lane this takes place in? Can Flash get the split lane pressure?
And that high Ram Rider slows the Ice Golem. That's why the Ram Rider was played there. A beautiful play by Anaban.
Poison damage on the left-hand side. Now a little bit of a counterplay, but it feels like Anaban in a good spot at the moment. And that's going to be Healthy Prince going the opposite direction, right into the Hunter. Minute 20 left in game number 3.
Yeah, Skeletons come down to keep that Royal Ghost at bay, make sure the Prince gets the big charge on it, takes no damage, is a bigger threat as it comes across the river. I still cannot get over that Ram Rider high to slow down the Ice Golem. I love that play.
It was pretty gorgeous. Here we go. Spreading 2 to the right this time, keeping the poison off the weaker tower is Flash. High Ice Golem. Mega Knight not going to do much when the Hunter comes down, and we'll see now. This is the chance. Flash gunning up to 8 Elixir. Will he split here? Instead goes with the Royal Ghost behind.
Yeah, he sees that he's got 45 seconds left. He knows that the split was probably not going to get a ton for him. In that last interaction, he needs a killing blow. And this is the moment where we're hoping to see it for Dig.
Heavy Pigs on the right-hand side. Mega Knight does come out to meet. Heel Spirit trying to slow down the Ram Rider. She does not connect. 15:35 on the right, 15:09 on the left. Right now it's Anaban in the lead.
And a big cycle there from Flash. He gets the Royal Hogs back down. He knows Mega Knight's not available. Prince doubles down in the right-hand lane. And just like that, Anaban finds himself at a deficit once again.
Ram Rider, though, she might connect. Poison in. Log knocks her back. And that's going to be just under 1,100 HP. 10 seconds left. Triple elixir. This thing is so tight, Andrew. Is there any way for Anaban to come back in this one, or is that going to be it? There you have it. Flash, 1, 2, 3. Dignitas is 2-0.
Flash on the day, playing perfect. Absolutely perfect. 5-0 on the day for Flash, and you could not be happier if you are Dignitas right now. First pick in the power rankings, lowest ranked team is now 2-0.
Man, what an unbelievable turn of events. Chivas Esports now falls to 0-3, which is so wild to say, Andrew. This has been such an unpredictable season. Flash coming out huge, 5-0 on the day, as you said, and I hope we get to take a look at that play that you called out, Andrew, the Ram Rider behind the Mega Knight to slow down the kite. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it really, really was. And we just got word from our league ops that Chivas technically can still make it, right? They can still make playoffs. They aren't 100% eliminated yet, but they need a lot of things to go their way. The ball has to bounce in their favor several times. And my favorite thing about that last game was the very, very end where that second set of Royal Hogs came down on the left-hand side. Flash recognized the cycle. He recognized what was and was not working, and he went nuts. So I think they did pull it. Let's take a look at this, Rich.
Here you go, Andrew. I'm going to you're the one who was so excited about this one. I'm going to let you talk us through it because this is a moment that I know you were so pumped when you saw the way he put it together.
Yeah, so he layers this perfectly already. The Mega Knight going down the left-hand lane, the E was to support. There's the high Ram Rider to catch the Ice Golem. It's snared. Now it's off the map, and guess where the Mega Knight is? It's still on the left-hand side, so skeletons have to come down. At that moment, it felt like Flash had lost control of his cycle, but he ends up turning things around. He does such a good job with the placement on his Ice Golems, whether it's kiting the Princes or kiting the Mega Knights. He did it time and time again. Now, an amazing heads-up play by Anaban that almost gave him the win, but not the case today. It's going to go to Bale, Flash, Codigo, and Lindsay to put Dig at 2-0.
Wow. Just wow. They played great 2v2, and you know, a big thing I like today, Andrew, seeing from Dignitas is the deck variety.
Yeah.
We saw deck variety in 2v2. We saw deck variety out of Flash in King of the Hill. If they can start winning 1v1 sets, if Bale can take what he's done in the Orange Crown League and do it here at CRL, Dig suddenly becomes very dangerous right now.
Well, the other thing is, too, is after you see the way Codigo plays in head-to-head, I mean, he did great in 2v2, but then maybe do you move him to your head-to-head just because of how great he's been playing? And maybe it helps Bale build a little bit of confidence, get his sea legs ready, if you will, for CRL in that 2v2 set where they've been picking up Ws.
It's so hard. How do you break up Flash and Codigo right now when they're 4-0 in games? That set's so critical. In my mind, maybe what you do is you keep Flash and Codigo together in 2v2, and maybe next week move Lindsay into the 1v1.
I like that.
Bale's played a lot there, but Lindsay has the experience, the confidence. We've already seen him go 2-0 on the season in King of the Hill.
Yeah, and I think then you get the idea or the opportunity to put Bale in the King of the Hill set, which then, you know, we've talked about this many times before, put him in that first spot in King of the Hill, very low pressure, very low risk. You know, there's still 2 more chances, but that's the place for these guys, these rookies, to really start building their career at CRL.
And Chivas now, looking at the charts here, Chivas needs 2 other teams to go 1-3. The only way you have a 1-3 team get through is if 3 of the 5 teams in a group are 1-3. So Chivas now hoping for some serious dominance out of the current leaders overall in their group. I'm talking about dominance, Andrew. Coming up next in just a few minutes, currently 2-0, Spacestation Gaming looks to stay perfect against the Brazilians of Pain Gaming. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a few minutes. And welcome back to sunny Los Angeles. And guess what? It is sunny today. It's a beautiful day here in LA. Of course, we're inside at the moment casting Clash Royale with you. Welcome back. I'm Rich Slayton. That's still Andrew Guy over there to, yeah, that is the correct direction. I had to figure out how my cameras work. And coming off that last one, Dignitas beating Chivas. And people thought it would be close, Andrew. It was close. Not the same view on this one. Most people believe that Spacestation should be a massive favorite over the Brazilians of Pain Gaming.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's entirely fair. Pain Gaming actually put on a really good performance against Misfits. It was just that they ran into Wings and King of the Hill, which honestly, anyone can run into Wings and King of the Hill and lose. So today is a big, big day for Pain Gaming. I'm curious to see if they come out with the exact same lineup we saw in their very first match, because they need to win. Spacestation Gaming is insane right now. They're about to be 3-0 if they win this match, which means they will definitely be in the top 2 spots in playoffs, and that's not what you want from Spacestation Gaming right now. Again, they're a team that rides high on emotion, along with their coach, who is a very, very emotional guy, and they're in a great position right now to close things out.
Yeah, in terms of what you're talking about, Andrew, riding high right now is Spacestation Gaming. AC and RF have been beautiful in 2v2. Lapa almost unbeatable in 1v1. Big order here for Pain Gaming, so let's go take a look at the all-Brazilian roster on the Pain Gaming side. Andrew, take it away.
Yeah, so we've got here Coca RX and Luke Dubs, which was the 2v2 duo we saw last time. Hen and Kava came out in 1v1 and fell to Air Surfer 1-2. Serge TS made his debut in King of the Hill, but did not have a great start. We'll see if he comes out in more head-to-head play today, or if he's going to be on the bench or another King of the Hill player. Big day for Pain Gaming at 0-1. Space Station on the other side, 2-0. You know them, you love them, and as you said, they've been basically perfect, Rich.
Yeah, and today looks like a chance for them to secure that spot in the playoffs and potentially secure a spot, depending on how well things go, or make it very hard for them to unseat them from that #1 first-round playoff bye position. And a lot of that has been the so far almost perfect 2v2 of AC and RF, 4-1 in games on the season. And then Lapa just nasty in the 1v1, 2-0. Basoto, Samuel, has not seen a game yet. And I think Space Station wants to keep it that way. Save the guy for playoffs and don't let this guy touch King of the Hill. Get it done in 2 if they can.
Why not? He'll be so hungry. He'll be chomping at the bits by the time he comes out for playoffs. He should make a big debut. And Lapa, as you said, has been dominant in that 1v1 set. And it's not over just anybody. He's taken down Ruben 2-1, and he took down Javi Catorce 2-0. So one of the big things right now is, how do you beat Space Station Gaming, and in what set? They seem completely unstoppable in the 2v2 and the 1v1, but we've said this back when they were Immortals, and we'll say it as their Space Station Gaming. We'll say it basically any team that AC and RF are on. You need to beat them in 2v2 if you want to win that match.
Yeah, AC and RF certainly feeling good right now, so beating them in 2v2 is going to be very difficult with the rhythm they're in. And then if you can get to the 1v1, Lapa feeling great. I mean, I was talking with AC last weekend, and he was saying that Lapa struggled in the fall. He'd been away from young kid, doesn't speak the language at the time. His English is getting better and better, but had been away from home for a long time and was really feeling just the weight of being kind of isolated for so long in that fall season. You saw it dip from spring to fall. Well, now he's home, he's around family, he's reinvigorated, and right now Lapa is looking almost unbeatable. And if he can play with this level of confidence, mix that with AC and RF, right now they feel like a good shot at the favorite overall for the league.
That's a really fantastic point you make. I mean, he is a young kid. He's far away from home. I mean, we spent time with him at WCG in China, and, Lapo's a great guy. But again, you talk about that language barrier, you talk about feeling somewhat isolated, and that was definitely the case a lot for Lapo. So that makes so much sense now that he's back home, feeling good, feeling confident, feeling comfortable, and playing again at the level you expect out of this incredible Belarusian. I mean, 4-1 against those guys in Ruben and Javi is no easy feat.
Yeah, it really isn't. And you put all that together with the passion of trainer Luis, who, for those of you who've been in Spanish language, have you done the post-game chats on that side? Trainer Luis certainly has brought the passion both in and outside. But you put that, he's a very good fit with this team. He's done a good job of managing Lapo and getting him in the right direction. And again, if all these guys are firing on all cylinders, this is one of the hardest teams to beat in all of CRL.
So here we go. Coca RX and Luke Dubs coming back out for Pain Gaming. On the other side of it, Spacestation Gaming with AC and RF staying together. I believe in Arizona. That sounds right. Both of them have Tornado banned for the day, so still probably the most popular ban in that 2v2 set. And speaking of 2v2 sets, let's hop into this massive one.
Space Station going to be at the top of your screen. Pain Gaming at the bottom. And again, these same two duos, AC and RF, after their performance last weekend, currently hold sole possession of the top spot in wins overall in 2v2, 52 wins each. That also means that as a duo, they've combined for the most wins in CRL West history.
That was a huge hit early on. The double skeleton barrel supported with the goblin barrel there on the back end. Coca and Luke Dubs had to make a decision of when to play a spell, and the only thing they had as a great response were the arrows. So they had to let those goblins go to town on their tower before they dropped the arrows because they had to wait for the skelly barrel to pop. Great start for AC and RF.
Mega Knight high, and the Musketeer going to do a good job of holding that Mega Knight there just long enough for the skeleton barrel to do its work. Prince does get away from the tower, so no leap there from the Mega Knight on the right-hand side. First minute away, and so far, it's Space Station Gaming in the lead.
Yeah, not surprised here to see the double bait out of AC and RF. They have such great communication with one another. These types of very high skill, high synergy decks are something that they really, really thrive with.
These two have been a duo for a very long time, their 4th season together. And you see the arrows come out a little bit early, but this time the Goblin Cage in cycle, and this is going to be a big part of the defense here for Pain Gaming against this quadruple bait deck.
Yeah, and they're still down in Elixir, Pain, so you see the pressure staying up here with AC and RF. I mean, if you're Coca and Luke Dubs, you have to feel kind of like you've walked into an onslaught. I feel like they haven't found their footing at all in this game.
Well, they had to play the snowball on that princess, or at least chose to play the snowball on that princess, meaning a whole lot more damage came in on their tower. Now Minor Skelly Barrel right-hand side, and nothing here from Space Station. What the heck is going on the right-hand side?
Nothing out of Space Station, and just like that, Coca and Luke Dubs now in the lead. No idea what happened there. Must have been a cycle thing, but a rough series of events there for Space Station.
You saw they were insanely low on Elixir, and Pain Gaming just took advantage, saw the moment, and got a whole lot there. So they didn't have anything cheap enough to get down at that point, had to wait for a 4 Elixir E-Wiz, and that's why you see a ton of damage on the right-hand side. And that's going to be towered down here just like that. Pain fires back, only 30 seconds left for Space Station to try to extend this thing into overtime.
Yeah, Space Station needs to get damage on that tower. They don't have a lot of spell power, so you see that high princess there. Maybe a bit of a misstep in allowing that princess to connect by Coca and Luke Dubs there. Just play a high unit, make sure the princess is not able to go aggro at the river.
RG in the pocket. This is huge for Space Station. Goblin Cage comes down late, so shades of the little Chen deck here with the Giant Skeleton, the Royal Giant, the Bait, the Princess, all that put together.
Yeah, and still keeping up the pressure with those Goblin Barrels, knowing that their opponents do not have great responses. I mean, that should be the name of the game here for AC and RF, is keep up the pressure with the bait.
Remember, there's only one building to pick up the Royal Giants as well, so if they can get cycled around quickly enough to beat that Goblin Cage, that's free damage a lot of the time.
Yeah, and here we go. Giant Skeleton plus Dark Goblin left-hand lane. You know that's where you're going to see the Royal Giant in the pocket. Great high Goblin Cage there, but now you have a Giant Skeleton on your King Tower.
Giant Skeleton on King Tower, Prince, Skeleton Barrel, Goblin Barrel, Musketeer right-hand side. And here you go. Take a look at this. A race for it on the left-hand side.
Wow,
oh
Prince
my gosh, Ewas comes in at the last second.
Prince getting stopped by every unit that AC and RF have, but now on the tower, 2 stabs, 3 stabs in with that lance. This is massive.
Arrows come out, another Skeleton Barrel in. What do AC and RF have to pick this one up?
Nothing.
That's going to be it. GG, well played. Pain battles back from adversity early on and punishes AC and RF for throwing too much Elixir on the board.
I mean, they lose their second game of the 2v2 set now, and they gave massive leads back to Pain Gaming time and time again. There was a moment there where they were playing from behind, but they did get back ahead into when they were in overtime. but just a couple overcommits here and there, a couple heads-up goblin cages from Pain Gaming, and a wasted Royal Giant, and just like that, you saw how much had to come down on that left-hand side to defend the Prince, just not able to, sacrificing a Dark Goblin and many other units, including the E-Wiz, was AC and RF.
Well, both times, Andrew, it was both times that those towers fell or got in lots of trouble, you saw the AC and RF were crazy low on Elixir. So excellent recognition from Coca and Luke Dubs in those moments where their opponents had spent a ton and capitalized cheaply in both cases. And that's an important thing to think about as well. That one on the right-hand side didn't cost them much, but it gave them a ton.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about these swarm units, right? The Skelly Barrel plus Goblin Barrel can put 1,000 damage on your tower in a split second. And that's one of the things that happened to both of these guys. Early on for Luke Dubs and Coca, they were able to recover, but then for AC and RF, it came much later in the game, and it was much more devastating.
Let's go ahead, take a look at some of the action from that last game. And this is going to be the towers going down on the right and left-hand side. So first you get that poison, easy peasy, takes care of the Musketeer pretty much as well, and at this point, it felt like Spacestation was playing from behind even after they got the damage on the right-hand side.
And that's where I think the slight misplay is coming out of Pain Gaming. Get that Musketeer one tile higher so the Princess does not connect. Make him spend just a little bit more spell damage, or I mean, a little bit more spell elixir to get that tower off the board so that in turn you can put the pressure up and take that second tower easily.
So here you go. You see Space Station down under 5 elixir collectively and just not having much available on the left-hand side. The E-Wiz comes out, but that's an E-Wiz getting dropped onto a Prince, not just onto a Skeleton Barrel. At this point, a lot of difficulty for Space Station on the left-hand side and not much they could do anymore.
Yeah, they had to drop that E-Wiz up high on top of the Prince, which you never want to do, but because of all the swarm units behind the Prince, there was no way for them to actually defend adequately, and you know, keeping up the pressure with the Prince, doubling down on that, and again, just that slight HP boost in the Prince makes him so frustrating. They dropped 7 elixir on top of him after he'd already crossed the river, and he still gets, I think, 4 stabs in with that lance.
And again, it's that double bait deck. If you don't have the right answers for it, it can be absolutely brutal. You gotta wonder if maybe there was some different Princess work that could have come out from Space Station. You wonder if they did if this is what they expected to be up against. Instead, they fall down one game in this opening set. And Pain Gaming, they won their last set in 2v2. They won it in style. I think they can do it again here.
Yeah, I mean, this is a moment now where AC and RF, they haven't lost the first game of a set. I don't believe. I think they lost the second game against Sam and Morton. Not 100%. Don't quote me on that. But again, we talked about momentum, and AC and RF aren't guys that are super affected by this, but they did just drop a game, and they dropped it when they had massive leads early on. So let's see what they do here in this next matchup.
RF has had a great 2020 so far. Won the USA stint of the Red Bull MEO. Couldn't go on, of course. Got second in the Game History Cup, and then first place at the CWA Cup. So he's been great in head-to-head play, along with his 2v2 here with his partner, both at CRL and, of course, the run they put on in the No-Tilt Worlds once AC joined him again.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's no secret that RF is, without a doubt, one of the top players, period, in CR because of his play in 2v2 and head-to-head. I mean, I would put him in either one of those sets any day of the week and feel confident in what I have.
Inferno Tower does finally get on the Mega Knight, so gets distracted for a second, but gonna burn that bad boy off, and here we go, left-hand lane. Pain now with a healthy Mega Knight creating a counter push. And the Bat's doing a nice job with the Zap as well.
Wow, yeah.
Keeping that Mega Knight really on the board for a long time.
So now you see only 7 elixir, 8 elixir in the hand, but only 2 in the right representative here. Aw, crap.
So it is double bait again for Coca and Luke Dubs. We'll see how AC and RF are able to respond. Of course, they now have the Zap, they have the Log, and keep in mind the Ice Golem also pretty valuable against some of these Skeleton Barrels, especially if they make it pop early.
Yeah, and right now I think is a moment where they don't have a great response, so they have to take a lot of damage from those Goblins to wait for that Royal Delivery to come in to make sure he cleans up the Skeletons as well.
Miner to the outside back corner. You don't go straight to the back as much. Worried about snowball potential King Tower activations with these King Towers being close to the Princess Tower. Here we go. First 2 minutes away into double elixir time. And again, it's the Brazilians with the lead.
Yeah, and the Brazilians really need to continue to take advantage of this fact that AC and RF only have the log and the royal delivery to deal with these actual 100% mitigated Goblin Barrel pushes.
Spacestation has been good with this balloon freeze deck before this season. Can they get a connection here? That balloon still healthy. Gets raged up, and a big drop on the left-hand side.
That was a beautiful sequence by AC and RF. Now, they may lose that top left-hand tower if that Mega Knight leaps. It does not. Now in a position to steal this game from Pain Gaming, as Pain has to sell out with spells. How do they punish them?
Princess on the right-hand side for Coca and Luke Dubs. Bats take care of it. Loon trying to break through. Inferno Tower does get frozen, and that's going to be death damage on the left-hand side. We'll see if they have the spell firepower to get it done. Fireball comes in. They lose their tower. Here we go into sudden death overtime.
And very, very even at Elixir here, but Coca and Luke Dubs already have units on the map, including a Princess that's hitting that top right-hand tower. AC and RF taking some damage now to even things out Elixir-wise.
Luke Dubs' career win rate in 2v2 at 58%. One of the top 10 in this set, and showing his skill here today with his rookie teammate Coca RX.
Yeah, and the one thing that's giving a slight edge to Pain is that great poison value that they keep getting on these Musketeers. Ooh, late log or low log, they're thinking of this maybe a bit of a tricky barrel, allows another couple hundred damage to come in for Pain.
Heal Spirit behind does heal up that balloon. Inferno Tower not frozen this time, though.
Yeah.
And that one dies on the vine. With a minute 15 seconds left, we'll see if this is the chance for Pain Gaming to secure 2v2.
Lumberjack goes on through, gets a few swings in, but a lot more damage comes in against Space Station Gaming. Coca and Luke Dubs in a great lead.
Final minute, triple elixir. Musketeer set up. Princess far set up here from Pain. Doesn't want to give spell value on that side. And of course, Space Station going to mostly ignore that Princess at this stage as long as they can and try to really commit on the right-hand side. But look what she's doing to the bats, to all these little small troops that are trying to help out on the right-hand lane, Andrew.
Yeah, I love that high cycle left-hand side. I love the Princess cycle over there to just help clean up with these splash units. The first one goes off the board, but a second one is down here for Pain Gaming. 873 to 1733. Spells are flying, though.
Fireball in, Bats protecting the Musketeer. Miner to go into the outside, does get the Muskie off the board, and now a big bait push on the right-hand side. Skeletons drop and an Ice Golem zap, double drop on the right-hand side. That might be the nail in the coffin here for Space Station in 2v2. Beautiful play. Can they get this balloon on tower in time? Doesn't look like it, Andrew.
No way, and I'm so glad that you brought up those Princesses being cycled left, because once that started here in Triple Elixir, once we were going for that race at the finish, it became such a difficult choice for AC and RF to deal with those Princesses and still build offensive pushes on the right-hand side, because all of their bait getting cleaned up from units that are demanding Elixir where they don't want to spend it.
Over and over and over again. You saw them starting to stack up on that left-hand side, Andrew, and then you see at the end, they're trying to find some way to battle back, but Zap and Ice Golem on defense, and that's 2 Elixir in those final moments you really can't afford. Not to mention on the other side, having Snowball, Royal Delivery, and Inferno Tower all to stop balloons from coming in. At the end, it was Coca and Luke Dubs completely in control.
Yeah, and we saw a couple moments there at the end where SSG had to try to spend some Elixir on defending those Princesses, whether it was high Bass on the opposite side of the map or a high Musketeer, but the problem was they played a Musketeer high to still support the right-hand lane, so the Muskie actually didn't turn and shoot that Princess. So again, that's 4 Elixir not spent ideally that ends up coming back to bite RF and AC. So let's take a look at the replay here of a really dominant performance by Coca and Luke Dubs in this great 2v2 set.
Yeah, and again, just part of the unpredictability of this group stage. And Coca and Luke Dubs played it really, really nicely. They went to this with this double bait, and it's the cascading effect of the bait upon bait upon bait upon bait. And again, we're talking about this one more time, Andrew. It might be a broken record thing. The challenge of the luck of the draw almost with these freeze decks against this bait deck, and almost worked out for AC and RF, but once we went to 2 towers, it really felt like there was going to be no way for a Space Station to break through it.
Yeah, you know, they had so many great responses with the Inferno Tower, with the 2 sets of bats. Dark Goblin does great damage, but then you have all the things that slow and stun the balloon, right? With the Snowball, with the Inferno Tower, with the Royal Delivery, all of these things, great responses. So even if you do get that freeze down, you need it to last about 2 or 3 times as long if you're going to get through all those layers of defense as well.
Yeah, and that's a good word to use there, Andrew. Layers of defense, and that's what Pain did really well in the second phase of this match as we were in the sudden death overtime. They layered that defense. There was never a moment where a balloon response wasn't really available, and able to stack that up, clog up the lane, clog up the airways in this one, and Pain gaming out to a 2-0 lead and a best of 3 1v1. Lapo's a hard guy to beat, but it's only a best of 3. Anyone can win 2 games on any given Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about Lapa at the top of this match, so now's his moment to shine. Let's see if the pressure is on for him or if he's feeling comfortable here in this 1v1 set. Who is going to come out? Will it be Hen and Kava? Will it be Serge? It's going to be Serge TS making his 1v1 set debut. Yes, he did play a quick head-to-head game. Didn't go his favor in King of the Hill, but Lapa out again, 4-1 in 1v1. This is going to be a good one.
This is interesting. Serge TS has not played a 1v1 set in CRL since his time with Pain Gaming back in 2018 in CRL Latin America. So it's been a while. He's done a best of 3 in these in CRL. Of course, CRL level play with his wins, the Cabrera Cup, performances in Moreno and Gamestry. He's played a lot of BO3s and BO5s there to success, but it's been a long time since we've seen him on the tower for this set here at CRL.
Yeah, so here we go. Lapo top of your screen, Serge TS at the bottom. So far running basically the same thing, but we'll see if that changes.
Prince to the left-hand lane. And Ewiz does slow that boy down.
Wow. Giant comes down just in time.
Yeah, Giant does pick it up. And thanks again, everyone, for putting up with some of the technical challenges of us trying to run CRL from our homes, from a safe distance from each other. We're doing our best to bring you guys as much awesome Clash Royale action and as cleanly as we can get it out.
Yeah, but the positive shade for that is that I get to hang out with my dog all day, so I'm okay with it.
That is a good one. I can hang out with my baby dragon all day. So here we go. Serge TS chipping away slightly in the lead. Giant Night Witch with Miner. You saw this a little bit last weekend.
We've seen this with Graveyard before. We've seen it with other combinations, and you see how it fares today.
I believe last weekend that the last card was a Prince in this one.
I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be. Yeah, there he is.
There's the Prince, and there's the Ewiz trying to hold off on the Royal Giant. Mitigates a lot of damage, and this should be not much elixir for this counter push, but we'll see if Serge TS throws something in front of it. There you go, the Miner to the back.
And a great fire there from Lapo. Going to eat this damage here from the Miner, maybe start to build his own offensive push. So the biggest thing here for Serge is going to be, how do I get enough damage on top of that Royal Giant quickly enough with the assistance of the Log and the Ewiz to stun him from getting too much damage on the tower.
The pressure Prince on the right-hand side. Skelly's Eels take care of it. You see Serge not going Miner to the back, going safe spot, seeing the Ice Wiz and assuming that there's a tornado. So this should be triple spell. Smart call by Serge TS rather than going to the back, going to the safe spot again.
Yeah, and that's the thing to do. Be patient. Maybe it connects, maybe it doesn't. Right there, you saw Lapo miss the pickup, so Serge still in the lead, and now Lapo trying to change lanes here and get the momentum going on the right side of the map here instead of going into this left giant push over and over again.
RG Prince behind. And Ewiz high for the Royal Giant. The Ice Wiz totally in trouble, taken care of by the Night Witch high. Ewiz behind, and now it's Serge TS getting a big counter push going on the right-hand side.
Yeah, and I think the idea there behind the high Ewiz was so that Electro Wizard would hit the Ice Wizard, the high Ice Wizard, so the Ewiz would hit the Ice Wizard and the Giant, and not that Prince charge, but Skeletons came out for Serge TS and did the exact same thing.
Final minute, 50 seconds so far. It's the Brazilian, Serge TS completely in control. And this is what people had hopes for, that Serge TS didn't play a lot of head-to-head play in CRL West, only played in King of the Hill in his season with Pain in the spring, went 3-4, and now finally seeing him in a full best of 3. We'll see if he lives up to his full potential here at CRL in this spring split.
I mean, it's sure looking like it right now. 794 to 1858. Lapacati not having a lot of responses and just not able to get a lot of damage down here from his Royal Giant as he has to spend so much elixir on these defenses. And so there you see, naked RG at the river, but it feels like it'll be probably pretty easily dealt with here by Serge.
Goes to Fireball on the left-hand side, doesn't NATO everything back, and down to 283. So within spell cycle range here. Tries to predict with the NATO to the inside and has to spend a ton on the outside. That's going to be a GG well played. Serge takes game number 1 in style.
And a very interesting spot now that you find SSG at. They've lost their games today. It's been a straight-up sweep by Pain, which I don't think a ton of people expected. I mean, you talked about that polling before the match, and it felt like it was really, really in favor of SSG. But right now, Pain putting them to work with some incredible plays by all their entire squad so far.
Trainer Luis calling a timeout for the Space Station side, so we'll add 1 minute to Lapacati's chance to look at his decks and make decisions here for the potential match point for Serge TS and Pain Gaming. And it was just all difficulty for Lapo the entire way through. He wasn't able to control on one end or mount any real significant offense on the other.
And you know, Serge did a great job of making every single one of those pushes so difficult to deal with, even if it was something just as small as getting your Giant in front of the 2 first bats that spawn from the Night Witch. That automatically changes the way that Lapacati wants to defend. Instead of being able to maybe put down the Prince, he has to get down the Ice Wiz, right? Because he has to make sure those bats don't do too much. But then you have the thing of needing to put the Prince up high, so then the Miner goes to the back, and then you give tons of poison value all the way across the board. And Serge just did that time and time again. He painted Lapacati into a horrible corner to be in.
Yeah, it's you know the feeling where you walk into a room and you look and you're like, I thought there was a door there. And you turn there, though, there's no door there. And suddenly Lapacati thought he was in a room. And turns out he's in a box.
Yeah.
And stuck the entire way through. So Serge TS, good debut in the 1v1 set. It's been a while since we've seen him here throughout his career. You know, we went, here's the thing, he went 5-4 in sets, 12-9 in games in CRL Latin America. People thought he'd be in 1v1 a bunch when he moved into CRL West, but of course didn't play that at all. With Pain, it was Carnage and Wen that spring season going in 1v1.
Yeah.
And then with Liquid, we didn't see him at all. It's nice to finally see him here in a set where you think he can thrive.
Yeah, you know, and it's not even a big slight on Henan Kava. You know, he went 1-2 against Air Surfer, which is a really, really tough guy to play in the 1v1 set. But again, Pain needs to pick up a W today. They need to win, so why not try Serge out? He is a guy that, as you said, a lot of people expected him to be the 1v1 guy when it came to CRL 2020. And now he's come out, he's put one game in their favor, but at least it seems to be the correct adjustment. Get Henan Kava in the King of the Hill. We know he's going to play well there, but if Serge can be your ringer in the 1v1, let's put him in there. Let's let him thrive. Let's let him get comfortable. And taking a game off Lapacati is a really great way to start.
Yeah, now Lapacati needs 2 in a row to even have a chance of Space Station winning this match. And of course, not as much pressure on this one with the 2-0 on the season, but 3-0 is very different, Andrew, than 2-1 in this group stage.
Yeah, I mean, buys are everything. We've talked about it every single season in in regional tournaments and in world finals. That buy is massive. You do not want to run into another squad that is fighting with the chip on their shoulder in that last spot, because you know it's going to be that number 3 against the number 6. So you want to make sure you are safe in these first 2. Let's hop into the next game between Serge and Lapo.
Lapacati top of your screen, Serge TS bottom, and a little cycle here from Lapa with the Heal Spirit to open up. Heal Spirit, Goblin Cage, 2 pretty popular combinations.
Yep.
And Serge TS at 10, so why not get that Brawler off the board a little bit earlier?
So Lapo maybe going RG again, we'll see.
Or Piggies here, potentially.
Yeah.
First minute away, not a whole lot going down. So far, Lapacati content to cycle, and Serge TS content to sit back and let him make the first significant move until that Baby Dragon. Pretty significant commitment to that left-hand side.
Yeah. Baby Dragon just kind of tells us a lot now that Baby Dragon just isn't in every single deck ever.
This feels like it might be that same Royal Giant deck that we saw earlier today, Andrew.
Yeah, coming from Serge here. And there we go.
And now with that lightning out, look at the opposite lane. Heal Spirit, Bats, Firecracker low, the Heal Spirit helping out, and this is a big push here from Lapa on the right-hand side.
Yeah, really, really nice push from Lapa. A early bar barrel ends up being the biggest mistake there from Serge. If you don't want to say it was the lightning, it's going to be that bar barrel coming out just a second early, not allowing, or I mean, coming out a second late, I believe, didn't take that Heal Spirit off the board. So Serge takes a lot of damage there by getting a lightning on the left-hand tower.
We'll talk about that turn min-maxing one more time, Andrew. On the right-hand side, you saw Lapo happy to let that one Mega Minion swipe come in rather than spend any extra elixir trying to defend and save that little bit of damage.
Yep, and that gives Lapo a nice 700 HP lead here and in a great spot elixir-wise.
And now Serge TS sets up his Royal Giant all the way in the back since we are in double elixir time. And this deck from Lapo has been very popular for Royal Giant, but this one from Serge TS is becoming maybe the new look.
Yeah, and so much here for Serge kind of playing right into. Does a good job of it on the front end. Lightning on the back end doesn't hit the Firecracker, but a lot of damage comes in. Another Royal Delivery down. Lapo, though,
Serge,
low on elixir.
Yeah, a little bit low on elixir. Serge TS chooses to bank up one more time with the Goblin Cage and a King Tower activation on that side. And Lapo's switching lanes, going RG to the left.
Yeah, very, very aggressive RG left-hand side. Serge TS goes, all right, I'll drop some guards on that, build a push on the right.
And you see a little error there in timing from Lapa. He tried to protect the Firecracker with the Skeleton's right-hand side, but didn't get the timing just right.
Yeah.
So the Firecracker didn't juke away from the Goblin Brawler. One elixir down the drain.
And there you go. That's what he's trying to do. Every time that bar barrel comes down, get the late drop on the Skeletons to surround the Firecracker, keep the Firecracker on the board. And now Serge is the one changing lanes.
Royal Giant on both sides. Does get one shot, does get two shots.
Yeah. Baby Dragon connects right-hand side.
Final minute 40, about 1,000 on both sides for Serge TS.
Those guards,
Lapacati, though, hurt on the right-hand lane, Andrew.
Wow, this has been a crazy back and forth of lane changing and damage from these RGs.
And there you see Skeleton successfully protecting that Firecracker this time. Keep her on the board as long as you can. This time, no cage in cycle for Serge TS. That's a lot of damage. Finally pushing back the Royal Giant.
RG, one big shot. Another big shot, 277 down to 250.
The big boy pushes his way through, but remember, there's no small spell to get on tower, so Poison not going to be able to get it done here for Lapacati right now, and I don't think he wants to cycle that Poison at this stage. Oh, he goes ahead and does it. So now can he play defense for just a few more seconds and get back to one more Poison in time? This deck does cycle so quickly.
Yeah, I think he's got it. He did that perfect late Goblin Cage on the last Royal Giant push there from Serge TS. We find ourselves even here in game, at the end of game number 2. Both these guys, I think they both played incredibly well. There was just maybe that moment at the end where Serge got a little bit too aggressive with his offense. Maybe should have reset, put an RG down in the back, because that's when Lapacati had the most trouble dealing with the pushes, when Serge would put the RG in the back and build these massive downhill pushes that Lapo had difficulty dealing with because of how quick and cheap his deck is.
Well, there's a lot of aggression early, Andrew, with that lightning that you talked about in the opening moments, and you saw immediately Lapo went Royal Giant the opposite direction, and then on the back end, you see, you're talking about that Poison. You know, the difference between triple elixir and double elixir, with that last minute being triple now, the way that you can get back to a Poison so quickly, the danger of an aggressive Royal Giant push taking your tower before you get back there is so much less. It's so much different because you can get so much on the board so fast before that Royal Giant can creep his way to your tower.
Yeah, so let's take a look here at the replay of the final moments of that last game here. And you see that high Goblin Cage comes in actually just a little bit late. An RG shot comes in the beginning and the back end, and that is really devastating for Serge TS. But he goes high and aggressive here with the Royal Giant instead of maybe resetting, but you understand why. He's got to get around, he's got to get damage on the tower before Lapacati can get around twice, and that's where that cycle really comes into play. I mean, yes, he doesn't have enough for the one Poison to close him out, but between the Skeletons, the Bats, the Heal Spirit, and the Firecracker, it's going to come really quickly.
Well, you know what became a total non-factor later in the game, Andrew, was that lightning.
Yes.
Played the lightning early, and the later matches, you got to wonder, even though there would have been a negative elixir trade for it, if at some point you see a healthy early Firecracker, you're in double elixir, you're set up on defense, use that advantage to get the Firecracker off the board and put a little bit more damage on that tower. But I think the big one, Andrew, is the one that you were mentioning there. It's that Royal Giant getting the second shot after the cage popped. that's the one that really put the nail in the coffin for Serge TS.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because you think about the damage that comes out from Lapo's deck and the way that he defends, it does feel maybe like he should have at least attempted to do a lightning on the Princess Tower and the Firecracker, deal with the Goblin Cage plus the Brawler on the ground, and then see if that's the way to break through, because those Firecrackers are such a nuisance. You get it off the board, you get a little bit of Princess Tower damage in, but it's tough, right? Because that is still a negative trade every single time, and even though you are in triple elixir and it is easier to get back around, it's even easier for Lapo to get back around and get that damage back in on the tower. So maybe it was matchup, maybe it was outplay, but it was a great, great game between both these guys.
Yeah, definitely a lot of fun. That's what we want. Let's go ahead and jump into game number 3. Set on the line. Second match point for Serge TS. Lapa, the reverse sweep, sends us to King of the Hill.
Yeah, and that's where things start to fall back in favor of that Space Station gaming, if you ask my opinion. It feels like if they go to King of the Hill, the idea of running in to Lapa plus RF, and then maybe that's when you finally see Basoto come out. That's not really a great spot to be in if you're Pain Gaming.
Yeah, I mean, Samuel, RF, and Lapa would be a pretty big ask out of Pain, even with the way they're playing right now, and both sides going Minor Prince, which is so insanely popular right now.
Yeah.
Variations of Minor Prince are everywhere at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Serge might be going back to Giant. Lapa could be running a couple different versions.
And Magic Archer doesn't get the geometry. Giant pushing forward.
But those skeletons do a great job of kind of keeping everything at bay so this Magic Archer can get just a little bit more value in.
You saw Serge maybe trying to get the reach across with the Prince for the Magic Archer. It doesn't happen. And now Lapa with a solid 2 elixir lead.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, just one interaction there, or like not even a whole cycle through your deck, and Lapa's up about 700 HP.
So Giant Minor Prince with Magic Archer for Lapa. This Night Witch version for Serge TS. Most likely running Poison as the spell. We'll see if that's the case.
Yeah, and Magic Archer will connect this time. The Skeletons come down a second late to catch that Prince. Prince should turn back around.
Wow, so much spent there by Serge TS. And there's going to be a Prince connection as well. Bats on tower.
Down, my friend.
He spent so much on that Magic Archer, there was nothing to do on defense after that point, and Lapa now firmly in control.
I mean, you got to pick your battles. For some reason, that was the hill that Serge wanted to die on, was taking those Magic Archers off the board 2 times in a row, but not getting the effectiveness down from his Minor, right? He would spend so much on taking that Magic Archer off the board, and, you know, he did it that second time around, but at what cost?
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, this deck has been running Poison. We haven't seen the Poison come out yet, and maybe Poison for the Magic Archer and help at the bridge battle might have been the solution there.
Yeah, so Serge gets another Giant down, so putting together a pretty good push, but that piercing damage from the Magic Archer is going to make that Ewiz have a really rough time. Log comes in as well, and that's a beautiful defense from Lapa.
And there comes the Poison at this stage. Minor to the back. Doesn't pull the Prince back, and with 15 seconds left, Lapo should have this thing all sewn up. We're going to head to King of the Hill, so Pain Gaming looked like they had this thing potentially done in 2 sets.
Yeah.
And a BM log zap Minor to that bottom left-hand corner. Lapa saying, come on, son. You can't put me out that easy. Space Station takes us to King of the Hill.
I gotta admit, I love the spell drop BM at the end of a game. I really do. I think it's so much more effective than putting up an emote. When you see a pro do that, he just lets you know really quickly, hey, I took your towers, I still have a ton of elixir, and by the way, it's all on the bottom left-hand side of the map where it does not matter. Great plays on a reverse sweep by Lapa. And basically, you know, the same idea here, but just a quick couple shifts with the Magic Archer in for the Night Witch, and of course that zap in instead of the Poison allows that cycle to come around 2 elixir more quickly, and that's the reason why I think we find Lapa out on top, was that great Magic Archer play, and maybe just a little bit too much of an overcommitment from Serge, wanting to clear those Magic Archers off the board with his Minor as opposed to a spell.
Yeah, I mean, I still am not quite sure I understand the Minor play. I mean, I understand what you're going for. You want for the positive trade, maybe create a counter push. But look at what you have here. I mean, I guess the Poison doesn't really work on the Knight and the Giant, but Poison would have got the Minor, got it off the board. You don't have bats behind the Prince. and then Miner maybe picks up the Prince on the other end. So yeah, I think that these miners for the Magic Archers really were the death knell for Serge.
Well, and I think the other thing that you can take a look at, and whether you're, whether you want to put it down to a specific moment or not, what you can say in that moment is that they have the exact same amount of elixir in their hand and a Prince plus bats on the board for Lapa on his opponent's side of the map. So no matter what you want to say about where the misplay came, there is a massive elixir deficit on Serge's side. So much so, it's 7 elixir in the hole. You never want to be at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it happened early. He went down 2 elixir in the opening moments of that game, and at this level, every time that happens, you stack 2 elixir, becomes 4 elixir, becomes, as you said, 7. And Lapa with a solid reverse sweep. And now here we go, King of the Hill. And, this is not to say that Pain doesn't have high-level players, but if I'm a betting man, I'm betting on Spacestation Gaming with the 3 guys that we believe they're going to send out.
I couldn't agree with you more. Why not? I mean, we talk about how much we actually like Crab in his head-to-head play and how many wins he can come out with. But here's the thing. I truly believe, and I think AC probably truly believes, that these 3 guys are just a little better than he is, have just a slight edge over him in head-to-head play. I bet Luis is probably in the same boat. It's no slight on AC. That is a compliment to the strength of the roster of Spacestation Gaming.
Yeah, so we'll see if this is what we believe, but we should be seeing the debut of Samuel, if he's even in the first spot, who knows? We'll see if they choose to lead off with RF or put RF at the back. The guy can do either one. Very curious to see what they do with the Space Station roster. On the other side for Pain Gaming, Serge TS had a good performance. I think you send him back out there again. The question is it going to be, who is it going to be around him?
And there it is. RF kicking things off. We are finally going to see Samuel Basoto come out here for Space Station Gaming. Lapa going to take a quick break. He's going to be the closer for that squad. On the other side of it, Luke Dubs coming out in that number 1 spot, followed by Henan Kava, and then Serge TS also going to take a little bit of break after that 1v1 set. I'm very, very excited to see this King of the Hill. I'm very excited to see both of these number 1 and number 2 guys lead off for Space Station.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating battle back and forth, and the God RF, one of the top King of the Hill in terms of wins overall in the game. 19 puts him in the top 10. But shockingly enough, a negative win rate in King of the Hill at 46%. But a sweep today would put him at an even 50-50.
Yeah, Luke Dubs on the other side of it, a guy that when he came into the league, he came crashing into the league with an incredible performance. Ever since then, it's been a little more hit and miss. King of the Hill, we find him at 51% overall, head-to-head 55%, so got a little bit of an edge on RF. Here we go, King of the Hill, game number 1.
As I said before, RF's 2020 has been phenomenal so far. All Hill pinning him as a potential MVP candidate coming into this season. Big performance here could be a huge one. Prince has to come out on the Skelly barrel. Oh, devastating for Luke Dubs in the opening moments.
Yeah, and you look at that, already 3 elixir in the hole. There's a Dark Goblin on the board. Luke Dubs needs to now sacrifice base. He needs to take as little damage he can from this push and just reset.
Minor bats to pick up. And they do an okay job of it, but still 16-23.
I mean, I think that was probably a best-case scenario for Luke Dubs. He got the perfect timing on the miner, the bats down to clean up the Goblin Barrel. No spell there or anything to clean them up. And, I'm happy with the deck that Luke Dubs is running, but not a great start for him, and that mortar will not pick up that barrel.
There you go, Skelly's pop. Zap does finally come out, so you can see Zap must have been buried for Luke Dubs very, very far back in the rotation, so starting hand does him dirty. RF way in the lead as the first minute has passed.
Yeah, Luke Dubs now in an uphill battle. I mean, Mortar can fare well against Bait. I'm very curious to see what that last card is.
Miner does go to the back for Luke Dubs, getting some decent chip damage on the opposite side, and gonna have to eat a couple of skeleton shots here.
Yeah.
Goblin Gang comes out for the barrel.
Yeah, and that's not a great spot to be in either. Goblin Gang's got to come down just a second sooner, and RF putting on the pressure, putting up a ton of damage early on here with this bait deck, which is exactly what you want.
And forcing out the Dark Goblin on the right-hand side. RF with a nice little kite work. Knight's going to take not that much damage and only 1 shot from the Dark Goblin. So well played by RF, not spending the log. Has that for the other log targets if he needs it.
You can see them going high. Dark Goblin looking to clean up any quick, cheap unit that Luke Dubs may have played, so instead Luke Dubs has to go a little heavier.
Miner gets back on the Princess.
Bats end up cleaning up the Dark Goblin. That was really nice. Sorry, what's that?
I said you're the mortar bait player here of the two of us. You know, I'm sure you faced bait overall before. Have you faced this double bait matchup very much?
Yeah, I have, but the thing is I, for the most part, will run Log in my mortar bait decks, or I'll be running the Valkyrie Snowball Poison version. So, you know, you can obviously have a little bit more of a difficult time when you don't have Log in your hand. Luke Dubs clearly does not have Log. I'm wondering if that last card might be
Look at that
Rocket.
zap on the right-hand side, Andrew. Sorry to interrupt.
No, please. That was a great swing there by Luke Dubs, now evening things up quite a bit.
That was a huge moment there. Prince got back, and the zap just making enough room for those bats to get through, and suddenly we have a game on our hands.
Yes, we do. Another bat going to get through, getting tanked for by that miner. Luke Dubs doing a great job of splitting up the defenses here by RF, and of course now recognizing that he doesn't have to worry about the rocket. Probably had that feeling for quite some time. He can play these defensive mortars. These defensive mortars are so effective because that splash helps clean up the princesses and the dark goblins that you have a difficult time getting to.
RF not going to really worry about that left-hand side now, just concerned about trying to get damage, not so much on defense. Zap out of cycle. Princess high, Goblin Barrel on tower. That's going to be quite a bit of damage. She gets a second shot in, 416, but remember, only the Log in terms of offensive spell damage for the God RF.
And that is a beautiful play by RF, recognizing that the best thing his opponent can do in that instance is drop the Goblin Gang. Zap's not going to do it. Fireball's out of cycle, so what do? Barrel plus Princess, those goblins are going to get a lot of damage done on them, as is your tower.
Miner in, Dark Goblin low, Fireball trying to get some more damage on that tower. Bat's not going to get there in time. Log coming through, Goblins get it, RF wins by a hair. Beautiful play by the Space Station leadoff hitter.
And I've got to say, it's one of those moments where we don't talk about it a ton. We talk about matchup a decent amount, but starting hand was really, really rough for Luke Dubs. You mentioned it the moment that zap came out. I think it was like his 6th card or something. So you said it must have been buried at the start of that game, and buried it was. And I think, honestly, that big blow that came early on made it so that Luke Dubs had to play behind for so long. He could never really get down offensive mortars. He was never comfortable enough to do that because he was behind for the entire game.
Well, he lost about, what, 600 or 700 HP on that first push alone.
Yeah.
So you think about that, and with that buried zap, this was a game decided by 400 HP, 410, I believe. So that zaps in the starting hand, we might see a totally different result here in this opening game.
Yeah, and you know, bait is the same as mortar bait in the sense of you don't really want to go too far behind early on because it makes it a lot more difficult for you to put up that dual lane pressure to min-max, as we've talked about a good amount. Luke Dubs, though, he puts together an incredible final few minutes to bring this game back within grasp, but again, that starting hand and the fact that he doesn't have Log in this deck, because, you know, a lot of times you'll see Fireball plus Log. This time he decides to go Fireball plus Zap, which is why I was so curious about what his last card was, because, again, in Mortar Bait, there are so many different variations right now.
Log cycle here on the left, and I believe that there's a Fireball coming in, doesn't get the Dark Goblin off the board.
Yeah.
Right? So that's another big issue there. Dark Goblin able to stop the Miner. That Fireball takes the Dark Goblin off the board. I believe that Miner Bats is close to, if not able to, take that tower on the right-hand side.
Yeah, and the Miner Bats was kind of the story for Luke Dubs. You know, he'd get the Miner on the back, the Bats would be on the right-hand side, they'd squeeze past the bomb tower with the Prince up front. That was a really, really great offense that he continued to orchestrate over and over. It's just that RF adjusted, and RF got that massive lead early on, so that he had, again, the luxury of kind of sitting back and playing defense, knowing that he could get a little bit of damage here and there on that left-hand tower.
So RF gets one off the board from Pain Gaming. Coming up next, it's going to be Hen and Kava lifetime head-to-head overall 25 and 24, 19 and 16 in King of the Hill with 2 sweeps to his name. Let's go ahead and jump in to game number 2 of King of the Hill.
Yeah, Hen and Kava may be going to be able to add a 3rd set sweep in King of the Hill to his record, but a very, very tall order that is.
We'll talk about those 2 sweeps that he put up in CRL West last season in the spring and fall, twice over Complexity's Air Surfer, Vulcan, and Razzer. So
wow,
those sweeps were against high-level competition.
Nice timing on the Baby Dragon there.
So RF going Skelly Barrel one more time, and cheeky NATO here from Henan Kava to get the Dark Goblin off the board.
Yeah, and you see that. The Knights played too high. Baby Dragon not connected by the Princess. A little bit of a sad face from RF because he has to spend even more Elixir on defending this Baby Dragon.
Battle Healer down for Henan Kava, and this could be a challenge. You see that barrel's going to go to the outside.
Yep, that's a great
Doesn't
play.
want to get NATO to power.
Well, and also it turns the Battle Healer around to allow that Princess to get those 3 shots in. Great play by RF.
So going with the stinky cheese here is Henan Kava.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And this deck...
And that Battle Healer staying on.
Yeah, this deck fares pretty well against bait, Rich. It really does, especially when you get in double Elixir time.
Skelly Barrel opposite direction, Princess low.
And it felt like...
Yeah, this timing worked out.
RF, wow, beautiful. Beautiful defense by Henan Kava. We need to clip that up in the replay booth. A perfect log and NATO to mitigate 100% of the damage from RF.
Look at that, and the way he put the Barb Barrel on the outside to get the 2 on the left.
Yep.
So he would still preserve the 1 on the right. So far, some cheeky NATO play from Henan Kava against a guy who's known for being great with NATO and RF.
And I love that you just pointed that out again. The cheeky bar barrel to hit only 2 units because he knew he was going to NATO the 3rd. That is why he is a pro. That's something that I would never even dream, a play I would never even dream of making until right now.
Well, that's why we're watching, Andrew, to learn from the best.
So here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah, Stinky Cheese coming down the lane, and RF going to be in a lot of trouble. He cannot get opposite lane pressure up, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think he can defend this.
Bomb Tower trying to slice its way through. Second Bomb Tower. If he can get 8 Elixir out of this, but a second Battle Healer down is so dirty.
He needs those little blobs to go down so his Elixir starts going through the roof. He's getting there. He is getting there.
2 Dark Goblins is absolutely huge, Andrew. Those Battle Healers now off the board, and suddenly, RF in a pretty decent spot here, under 500 on the left-hand side.
492. That second Elixir Golem coming down from Henan Kava might have seemed like a great idea at the time, but all that Elixir in the hand of this very quick, very high DPS deck could be very troubling.
And there we go. That's going to be it.
Wow. Wow.
Wow. That deserves a full one there, Andrew. And I think you hit the nail directly on the head, took the nail out, and hit it on the head again. That second Elixir Golem. There's so many options you can put there. Besides the second Elixir Golem, get yourself back onto that next Battle Healer, maybe a little bit quicker. Throw a Heal Spirit in for the bridge battle. But second Elixir Golem, and RF just says, cool, guess what? I have 2 Bomb Towers, and you can't get to my Dark Goblins. GG, well played, RF, 2 up, 2 down.
And here's the other thing. That second Elixir Golem is in lieu of a Barb Hut ever coming out. There's no big spell in the hand of RF. He's only got Log plus the Princess to kind of deal with these spawning barbs or to get any damage on the Barb Hut. So Henan Kava only using 7 cards that game, and he loses. And I think that's probably a big part of it. I understand how well he played. I think some of the defense he played early on was breathtaking, honestly. But that second Elixir Golem down, 8 Elixir in the hand of RF, no Barb Hut played.
So here you go, Andrew. This is that amazing defensive moment from Henan Kava early.
Yeah.
Barb Barrel outside, NATO to the right-hand side, and that's just a thing of beauty. They're getting the King Tower activation, which makes it much harder for those Goblin Barrels to get their full damage.
Yeah, and the other thing was he also got that Barb Barrel in time, or down in time, so that Princess would not hit the tower. So everything played correctly there by Henan Kava. But here we go. This is where things kind of start to go south for the Brazilian in a bit of an overcommitment on this next push.
And there you go, Goblin Barrel in, Dark Goblin high, stretched completely thin. And, we don't talk about it enough. The little death damage, the drop damage of that Skelly Barrel, that begins to add up over time. You think of the skeleton more than that drop damage, but that drop damage is not insignificant.
Well, that's one of the most frustrating things about the Skeleton Barrel as you get deeper in a game is because you know what does more damage. It's the skeletons on your tower. So what do you have to do? You have to take that drop damage almost 100% of the time, unless you have a building like a Barb Hut that you could play to distract the Skeleton Barrel. I don't know, Rich. Why was that card not played?
7 Elixir. Yeah. That's why. It's so darn expensive. You're up against a fast deck and bait. And just never felt like the opportunity to get around to it made sense. And now we have RF with a chance to put up his second career sweep in King of the Hill, and a chance to send his team to a clean 3-0. Let's jump into it.
Yeah, Serge TS on the other side of it needs to take out RF, Samuel Basoto, and Lapa, who just beat him in that 1-1 or 1v1 set, and he's done it before. He's got 2 King of the Hill sweeps under his on his record.
RF opening with Miner and Spear Goblins. Serge TS defending with the Night Witch on the right-hand side.
Night Witch Ice Wiz.
Bats come out for the Night Witch on the right-hand lane, and Serge TS is choosing to set up a little bit. It's going to be Miner Wall Breakers for RF. With the Spear Goblins, you feel like Prince might be in here as well. There you go.
Yep, High Prince, turn that Baby Dragon around, get a lot of pressure up on the right-hand side. Ice was going to go off the board pretty quickly.
Full Dark Prince charge left-hand side, but now RF trying to put pressure on. NATO gets good value there on the bats and the wall breakers.
Yeah, nice NATO there to kind of stop the bleeding, if you will, for Serge TS, who ends up not really being that far behind after that first minute of play.
Both these guys have been around for a long time in competitive play, all the way back to old school RPL. Serge TS playing in the 3rd Americas edition for Elite Gaming, where they took 4th. And RF playing in the 4th edition, also in 2017, where he took 2nd place in RPL Americas.
So is this looking like a graveyard deck here from Serge?
It has a lot of the feeling, Andrew. You know, you have the splash elements. Night Witch has been in graveyard in 2020. Dark Prince, and also we haven't seen him pull it out yet, so that's another reason why it might be that direction.
Yeah, a little bit of splash damage there from the Baby Dragon. Here's the Dark Prince to soak up that Prince charge. King Tower activation, but those wall breakers will connect.
Yeah, and now that you're down to about 1,000 HP, the King Tower activation, not as big of a concern.
Yeah.
You know, if you're over 1,500, now you're starting to be a little bit worried about that King Tower activation, but down here, it's not going to be as big of a difference at this stage. And it's Golem.
Yeah, Golem ends up coming out here for Serge, going into the weaker lane. So what does RF do? Double down on the right, make sure that he cannot support this Golem push the way he likes.
And there goes the Inferno Tower. Often, if you're running this without wall breakers, this runs with poisons. So you'd be poisoning behind for the Night Witch and all the support troops here.
And look at that.
Not going to be the case.
Baby Dragon on the tower has to have a zap come out, is RF, to deal with all those bats. And just like that, Serge TS finds himself in a not a horrible position.
1342 left-hand lane on RF's tower. 709 on Serge TS's tower, and RF has to go to the opposite lane and get the Prince connection.
That's exactly what you need to do. As soon as that goal comes down for Serge TS, RF does the correct thing and goes heavy on the right-hand side. He just needs to defend out now, but he's got to look out for that NATO.
Wall breakers for a little bit of kite, but the Miner on the tower on the right-hand side. Log in trying to get it done, but there's a ton on the left-hand tower as well. RF trying to hold on.
RF not going to be able to close this out. Serge TS catches the Miner. A big NATO comes in.
Wall breakers trying to kite, Miner to pick up. The bat's not going to get there. 54 HP, and that's going to be it.
Goodness. Serge TS with the great Miner catch. That is the entire game right there. Catching that Miner, mitigating those few hits. RF not able to complete the sweep. Pain still alive.
Well, you saw the Spear Goblins come out at the end there, Andrew, and a little bit of back and forth. Those Spear Goblins, I think, were out fast enough to catch that lightning. It might have been the lightning was played low and outside, so RF nearly pulls off a beautiful lightning block and potentially saves the game. Instead, Serge TS able to steal it back from him and get the win.
Obviously, a tough one for RF to walk away from, but he takes down 2 Pain representatives already. He's got 2 more players in the tank for SSG. Before we hop next into Samuel Basoto, let's see the final moment here from RF, who goes hardcore on the right with the Prince connection, but cannot close things out.
Yeah, the Dark Prince just pushes him back off the tower, and now with so little elixir, you see the kite here, but look at how little elixir RF is defending with, and tries to get the right-hand side. And the only thing I would do differently here if I'm RF on that side is maybe go Miner to the inside close to King Tower and not be worried. I guess you're worried about being NATO'd away at that point, so it's kind of a 50-50. It's really hard. And you see he's going to go for the block here. The Spear Goblins come out, but they don't get the lightning.
Yeah, Serge TS played that perfectly at the end. He really, really did. He made all the correct decisions. After catching that Miner, RF was in a horrible position. He was so low in elixir. He needed those hits to come in. And then you talk about trying to defend that on the left-hand side. He did let that Night Witch come on through and hit his tower, which is a massive amount of damage. The bats spawn right on top of it. And there's just no way to deal with all of that because the Golemites are still there, right? They're still going to work their way to the tower. They're still doing a little bit of tankage here and there. RF played that pretty perfectly. Just didn't get that miner on tower at the end.
Yeah, and that's tough, right? Because you don't want to go inside, as I said, because of the NATO pull. What if he NATOs you rather than tries to pick it up, tries to predict it? Of course, hindsight's 2020. He went for the pickup with the Ice Whiz, but brutal. So here we go. Game number 4. Serge TS now has 1 in the hole, needs 2 more to get the win for Pain Gaming.
Yeah, and Samuel Basoto here from Spacestation Gaming making his debut. A little bit of BM to start, so feeling confident is the young man.
Well, why wouldn't you be, Andrew? 30 times in the top 10 on ladder, 4-time, I think it's 4-time number 1. 87-21 personal best. So you're looking at one of the top ladder players really in history up against Serge TS. Miner and Log to the right-hand lane. It's going to be Miner Loon, probably Musk.
Yeah, and an immediate aggressive balloon there. Great snowball to reset the trajectory of that balloon to go towards that Goblin Cage.
And Miner goes to the outside just to get some chip damage, knowing that getting those archers off the board not going to help too much in that situation. And the GY comes out early here in single elixir.
Yeah, Graveyard and tank both of those units. We'll see if that ends up paying off. Archer is on the tower, and of course, getting tanked for by the skeletons. That is going to be a decent amount of damage. Nice snowball comes in to stop that Archer.
When way ahead on elixir is Samuel, you can see plays the Valkyrie, forces the Miner out defensively, even with that, still going to be up on elixir.
I love that play. Valkyrie plus skeletons, gets 1 Valkyrie swing in, baits out the Miner, stays in a great elixir spot. Just an awesome heads-up play by the ladder god.
Here we go, halfway through regulation time, up by about an elixir and a half. Elixir and a quarter is Samuel. Serge TS needs to take out the guy in front of him and go through 1 more in Lapa if he wants to get this thing done for Pain Gaming right now, fighting from behind.
And what Serge here needs to do is just get an insane cycle going on in double and triple elixir so that he can start switching lanes with the balloon and making his opponent make mistakes. He's got a decent amount of responses in the Mega Minion, Archers, Cage, and Snowball, but we all know how quick this deck cycles from Serge TS.
TS going Hunter rather than the more common Musketeer in this deck. Let's see how that does for him in the long run.
And again, a Graveyard down to tank for the Archers on the right-hand side. Just a very, very small commitment here from Basoto. With that poison damage, though, going to get a lot of value.
10:56 right-hand lane, 30 seconds remaining in regulation time. Almost a sudden death, and looks like we probably will go there with SSG in a solid lead.
Very nice high Mega Minion there to catch the balloon before the bats come down. Snowball assists. Miner is on the back right-hand side, but the problem here is that Serge is splitting a lot of his damage. He needs a balloon to connect somewhere.
That's a good kite.
Poison value
Those
again.
Gonna die easy.
Yeah.
And here's the hard part, Andrew. Serge TS forced to spend so many of his small spells that would help with getting that balloon through on defense.
Yeah, Snowball's not available anymore, so Archers come down. No problem, no how for Sam. Drops that very, very late Snowball, mitigates the death damage, and ends up taking just a log hit.
And now Serge TS cycling these balloons very, very quickly. High Goblin Cage again, and those Skellies go all the way around and still pick up the Miner.
I love that early cycle there from the Skellies. The balloon, though, making its way on through, Rich. That's a hit.
Oh! Just barely saved by the Archer. 11:42 right-hand side. Final 80 seconds coming your way.
Yeah, damage from the Archer, body block from the Mega Minion, but this is exactly what we talked about at the top of the match. Serge now in a great position, cycle-wise, and he misses the pull on the cage, Rich.
The balloon sneaks on by. I believe that might have been a Bats push. Snowball trying to make room, does not connect, but death damage will be a ton here, and that's going to be now getting into low, low range. And that log putting this thing under 200. Graveyard opposite direction. Does Samuel pull out the poison? Can he deal with this Miner in time?
Oh my gosh. Serge TS pulled off the unbelievable. It feels like Ice Golem takes the town.
Wow. Absolute wow. Serge TS putting on a gem here in King of the Hill. Samuel must be beside himself The way that balloon snuck past the Goblin cage, and I believe it might have been, if we can take a look at that, I'd love to, it might have been a bat's push to send that balloon outside of pull range.
Yeah, and that is a thing that if you guys don't know you could do, go and watch as many replays as you can of pros playing with balloon. You can control your own destiny. You can push your balloon towards a tower with the drop of units behind. It's not an easy pull, and if the person plays the cage or your opponent plays the cage in the right spot, it's not going to work. But Samuel trying to play as cheeky as he could, get the most that he could out of those Goblin cages. Serge takes advantage. The first thing he does is gets ahead of him in cycle. Second thing he does is supports his balloon. Amazing plays from the Brazilian.
Well, it's just the way that he was being forced to spend his spells on defense against the graveyard over and over again. You were sitting there going, how is he going to find a way for the balloon through? But, you know, also not to mention the fact that those miners were getting on tower a bunch, and I think that might have been the real key, that Samuel was having difficulty with those miners as well, and maybe got a bit distracted trying to deal with both the miner and the balloon as time went on.
Well, what I love about this, Rich, is if you go Ice Golem plus balloon at the river, and then you're defending on the back end with skeletons, log, and snowball, think of your cycle already. You've already got back around to another Ice Golem balloon. So yes, Serge was spending a lot on the back end, it appeared, with the spells, but that was really assisting his pushes coming across the river. And the other thing was it was baiting out the poisons from Sam on top of the skeletons. So a -3 trade there for some Princess Tower damage, and Serge just takes a massive, massive elixir lead.
And there you can see exactly what I was talking about, Andrew. It's the balloon comes down, and you saw the bats come down a little bit behind the balloon, predicting that Goblin cage, pushing it out of range from the cage, and getting it on tower. Perfectly done, perfectly played. And if you don't know that move and you play balloon, you better well learn it, because you can see the value here, basically winning the game for Samuel, or for Serge TS on one big move.
And here's the thing, he held that ace up his sleeve for so long. Being a mortar player, it's happened to me so many times where you're going up against quick balloon cycle deck, you've got him pinned, you've got him beat, you're ahead of their cycle, you're getting damage on the tower, your miners are connecting, then they get that one sneaky balloon play through because you've been playing your defensive building in the same spot the whole game. So maybe a slight adjustment from Samuel would have defended that, but really, it was just an incredible play by Serge.
Yeah, really, really smart and able to battle back. And you mentioned the cycle, the playing all those spells on defense, but then getting himself back to more offensive pressure. So here we go. This is the game you love to see.
Yeah.
Game 5, match point both directions. Serge TS, Lapa. Let's go.
Serge TS got a bit of a chip on his shoulder right now after losing that 1v1 set. So hopping into the final game here. Game 5. As you said, man, this is what it's all about.
Wow. Absolute wow. And after the 1v1 set these two guys put up, you know, they love to make it a best of 4, it feels like.
Yeah.
And caging up on both sides.
And these are two guys that deal with pressure pretty well, so I'm very excited to see this as our final match.
We've seen a pretty good variety of buildings overall today, Andrew. We've seen Teslas, we've seen Goblin cages, Inferno towers.
A couple bomb towers even.
Bomb tower as well. The only things we haven't seen the cannon, obviously, and haven't seen the furnace.
Yeah.
You know, thinking about honors versus defensive buildings.
I'm very okay with not seeing much furnace.
So early RG for Serge TS, recognizing he's a little up on Elixir, so up by 2, decides to RG in the back.
Let's see what spell he decides to drop here, or if he does decide to drop a spell. There's the lightning.
And the Skellies and Valk will prevent that RG from getting more than 2 shots, but that's 2 pretty significant ones. So opening minute and a half, Serge TS with a pretty solid lead, 1772 on the left-hand tower of Lapa.
Yeah, and you know that aggressive lightning play ended up paying off pretty well, even though it only takes off a Princess Tower damage, an Archer, and a Skeleton. Still in a good spot here.
Lapo puts down his Goblin Cage early, cycles the Snowball to give up the 2 Elixir advantage he had. Entering double Elixir time, and we'll see how long it takes Lapo to play that Graveyard. Interesting choice here from Spacestation to go back to the same deck with a different player.
Wow, and that's a very, very nicely played Royal Giant that is tanking for everything. Mega Minion going to clean up the Mega Minion before the Baby Dragon goes down.
This might be... No, he's not going to pull the trigger here. It's a little bit too early. Didn't have enough elixir for it. Had a pretty healthy Valk Archers behind, but again, Lapa has to let this one go. Not enough elixir to deal with it, and still have enough for defense.
And every single time he doesn't pull the trigger on that, he falls farther and farther behind. That deficit gets larger and larger. Lightning comes in. Royal Giant shot does not come in.
Here we go.
Here's the graveyard.
Snowball in on the guards. Nice snowball from Lapa, and that's going to be a big chunk the opposite direction. Skeletons do get on tower, and now we're going to be 1,800 to 1,518 as we head into sudden death.
Yeah, Lapa would have ideally loved to play a poison on top of all that, but you can't have everything. He does get a great amount of damage in there, evens things up a bit. And now Serge TS going to have to be a little bit more careful with how aggressive he is with these RG pushes.
Quite a bit on the board now for Lapa. Remember the cage still in the back on top of all of this. This graveyard going to town on the tower.
A huge graveyard poison blow, and it feels like just like that, Serge TS has sacrificed any sort of lead that he had and is now in a ton of trouble. Lightning comes in.
And look at this. Not even worrying about a cage again. Instead, saving the elixir to go the opposite direction. Andrew, this might be it. Snowball in, making some room. Skeletons on the tower. GG, well played. Lapa gonna put Spacestation Gaming at a clean 3-0. Doing it the hard way here against Pain Gaming, and they have secured a spot in the playoffs.
And a tough day for Serge TS, who puts together an incredible run in King of the Hill. He ends up taking the very first game off of Lapa, but after that, it was all SSG all day. Lapo goes 2 in a row, RF goes 2 in a row, and then you bring Lapo out again to close things out. Serge TS, he's found his kryptonite. I'm sure he's found himself a rival, but Spacestation Gaming stays perfect.
That's a big one, Andrew. And this time doing it against adversity. And that's a huge difference. It's been kind of an easy road so far. Now they've shown they can do it the easy way.
Yeah.
They've shown they can do it the hard way with pressure on. And Lapa, man, he's back. There's no question about it.
Yeah, and at this point, man, I kind of just feel a little bit bad for Pain Gaming. They have ran into some really, really tough moments in King of the Hill specifically. And it's 2 games in a row they've lost in the final set in games 4 and in games 5. So here we go. This is that final big push here from Serge TS. And Lapa actually deals with this really, really well. The Skeletons come down to surround to get that extra little bit of DPS on top of the RG. He takes the lightning shot, but here we go. Big time. Graveyard in, snowball in, and that snowball just creates enough room for those Skeletons to get a few swings in. Those Larrys do just enough damage. Poison, GG, well played, we're going to playoffs.
And that's a couple times that Lapo used the snowball to make room for the graveyard rather than the poison to try to take those guards all the way off the board, and instead using the poison at the end for the finishing move to get that tower all the way down. So very smartly put together by the young Belarusian, and now Spacestation Gaming, the lowest they can be is second place, and they certainly have control of the top of their group.
Yeah, and you know, Lapo there at the very end, it was just an incredible sequencing of attacks time after time after time. And you know, defending those Royal Giants, he did it perfectly. He decided when to min-max, as we've talked about many times throughout the day, so hopefully you guys understand what that means now. Lapa, Spacestation Gaming, pretty dang perfect, man. I mean, you said it. They've done it the easy way. They've done it the hard way. And now they just look unstoppable. Yeah,
I mean, there's different heroes every day, but right now, Lapa and RF teaming up to get it done. Let's go ahead and take a look at our standings through this Saturday, halfway through match week 3. And we're starting to get a pretty good picture of what might actually happen, Andrew.
Yeah, you know, actually, before we hop into the standings really quickly, I do want to say, how did you feel about Sam? I was excited to see him come out, but it felt like he was maybe a little overconfident in that first game with the BMs coming. I mean, in his first game, the BMs coming out, maybe slipping a little bit with his lead. I don't know. I love the guy, and I'm excited to see him play more, but it's just a question I got to ask.
It's possible. You know, it's one of those things where he's young. You know, he was new in the league last season. Obviously, one of the great ladder players of all time, but This is a little bit different than playing ladder, obviously playing in CRL, where no matter what, every single player is top tier, and you're not running your comfort deck over and over again. I don't know. I like him in King of the Hill, and the way Lapa's playing in 1v1, I wouldn't change anything right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. So here we go. Our standings for Group A. Dignitas at 2-0. I love it. The only squad in Group A with 2 wins and the first squad picked. Tribe Gaming right behind them. We're excited to see them play again tomorrow. CRB Cream Real Betis at 1-1, as is Team Liquid, the leader of this group, our former world champions, and Chivas Esports technically not out of playoff contention at 0-3. But if I'm Chivas Esports, I really got to figure out what needs to happen, and a lot of praying has to happen as well if you want them to end up making playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough call. On the opposite side of it, this one already has a pretty clear picture. Spacestation Gaming is through. Misfits gets one more win, and they are guaranteed through. And that's 2 of 3 playoff spots that could be settled when Misfits plays again next weekend. So the big question now is what happens between Team Queso and SK Gaming when we come back tomorrow? Does SK fall to 0-3 and an 0-3 in a situation where I don't know. There could be 3 1-3 teams here if Misfits and Space Station keep going off like this.
I mean, I honestly, I really agree with you. Pain Gaming now in a spot for Queso and SK as their next 2 matches to either end up really high up or get dominated throughout. So here we go. Tomorrow's match is 10 a.m. once again here on the West, 1 p.m. on the East. Rich, what do we got?
Team Liquid and Tribe Gaming, an all-star matchup. The biggest names going head-to-head, and this will decide a lot. Tribe could go 2-0. Team Liquid could fall to 1-2, and then the second match of the day, the defending Western champions against the defending No-Tilt League Special Edition champions, SK Gaming and Team Queso. Both looking for their first win and a chance to stay relevant in the playoff discussion as we go towards our second half of the group stage.
SK Gaming, Team Queso, and Team Liquid have 1 win between the 3 of their squads. That is unfathomable if you go back just a couple of weeks and you look at SK and Queso thinking they're just going to dominate Group B. Not the case, and now a very, very rough spot for both of our former champions.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. And again, those tiebreakers will probably come into play. It looks like Group A is going to be very tight all the way through the middle, whereas Group B, it's top-loaded right now. Mm-hmm. Space Station is way up there. Misfits could secure a spot. So it's going to come down to some weird tiebreaker stuff potentially at the bottom half of Group B. So a lot of teams here in positions that they didn't expect to be in, and teams that in positions they've never really been before with these particular squads.
Yeah, and again, Payne's next 2 matches are SK and Team Queso, so they definitely have a possibility to have a really, really rough run on their way out, but they also have the possibility of eliminating SK. You know?
Yeah, and that I mean, that's a huge feather in your cap if you can take SK Gaming out, a team that, you know, no one thought would be, I mean, we keep saying this, that no one thought would be in this position, but dude, it's a short season.
I know.
It's this crazy World Cup style format, and personally, so far, I am loving what we're seeing.
I couldn't agree with you more. I was just going to say, I absolutely love it. I hope you guys are as well. So join us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications. That way you do not miss a second of action. Every single game today was absolutely I was going to say enthralling, invigorating, insane, whatever. All the words, all the adjectives. Do not miss a second of gameplay. Next up, join us on Twitter. Follow us at Esports Royale EN. If you want to follow along in English, you can follow me at Andrew Guy. You can follow Rich at Rich Slayton. But do it. Click those follows. Little white bird, blue background. We'd really, really appreciate it. Last up, Fantasy Royale. I'm happy with the changes I made today. I'll be 100% honest. We'll see if they end up coming through tomorrow. But remember, Fantasy Royale, every single week, you can start setting your lineups on Tuesday. They got to be set by Saturday morning. You can win 1,000 gems. And yesterday when I checked, there was 1 person in the lead. 1 person, which has never happened before. So I don't know who you are. Go buy a lottery ticket. My hat is off to you, my friend.
My fantasy team not performing that way at all. So who knows? Good luck. Find that guy and steal his phone and figure out what the heck he's doing. It's been a fun Saturday, guys. I don't know what you can predict about anything in this one, but I do know one thing I can predict, that Andrew and I will be back here again tomorrow, 10 a.m. in the West, 1 p.m. in the East, 7 p.m. Central European Summertime. Stay safe. Have a good one. We'll see you mañana.